I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia.
Cracks in the Kremlin's power play as the White House piles on the pressure to stop the fighting in Ukraine.
But as a classified document claims to reveal Russia's secret plans for Ukraine, we're asking, who really holds all the cards?
No change to the definition of terrorism. That's the terror watchdog's recommendation after a review of the Southport murders.
Bloat in Britain. The Prime Minister will admit the public sector is overcautious and flabby in a milestone speech today.
Prince William takes on the world. The heir to the throne is set to travel to Estonia to visit British troops on NATO's front line.
And as VE Day approaches, Catherine Forster sits down with the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy.
Programme of events that we're announcing for VE Day 80 is going to bring the past flickering back to life for that generation.
A marriage of love or food? As it's revealed that married men are 3 times more likely to be obese, we debate this morning if love makes us lazy.
And in sport, Aston Villa and Arsenal both stroll through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League, where they'll meet Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid next. You know what? Our tips came through yesterday.
Woo-hoo!
All 3 horses winning at Cheltenham yesterday. We'll have more for you coming up for St Patrick's Thursday. And the most hated tree in golf has returned to Sawgrass for the Players' Championship. That's it there.
It's a cold and an icy start out there this morning for some of us, and we have got a mixture of sunshine and showers once again today, but find out all the further details you need in the full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Oh,
Now,
you clever boy.
You're clever. Well, clever or lucky, we're not sure which. But I'd say.
You think so?
Yes.
OK, I have a hat like that. Paul's tips for the day.
Yeah, so how much money did you make?
Nothing.
What?
I didn't bet on any of the horses.
You didn't bet on your own tips?
Didn't bet on my own tips. You know what's really, really stupid is that someone in the office said to me, "Oh, this horse I've got for you," and I remember doing it, and I thought, "Oh, I'll have each way on that." Forgot about my own, and ours came through, and his didn't. So it's, you know what? It's not the way to go, is it, really? But
you've got to trust yourself.
The 120 New Lion, which is our first tip, came in at 3-1 and won. So I said each way, but it won. The 4 o'clock Marine Nationale came in at 5-1 again, and that was a each way bet, and that won as well. And then we had Paddy Aspel, didn't we? The jockey on, who suggested Stumptown because it's a family thing, in the 320, and that won at 5-2. So I have had messages from viewers, and if you did, congratulations, but don't always take what I say. But we did have a very successful day yesterday.
Oh, are you going to give us tips for today?
Yes, see, this is the pressure's so on me now.
Pressure's on
I
you now.
do have two horses for Cheltenham, and we can do those.
OK, great.
Right, that's all positive. Can I just point this out? If you're in Swindon, there was an incident in Swindon with a python in a toilet. Someone a tenant found a giant python in their toilet, and they called council staff, but the snake slithered away before they arrived.
What's a python doing in Swindon?
In the toilet.
Well, it's the toilet more than Swindon, isn't it?
So it's got up through the pipes.
Oh,
this is...
That's the stuff of nightmares, isn't it?
It
is
is the
the thing,
heebie-jeebies.
It's one of those things that you'd think is like an urban myth that all of a sudden you look down and
There's a snake coming up the...
Did it just go back?
Well, presumably.
And I have so many other questions that maybe I shouldn't ask.
No, but don't ask them.
No.
But it's...
I don't even want to think of them.
It is the stuff of nightmares, isn't it?
How did they know it was a python? Did they recognise it?
I don't know. Maybe they took a picture.
Did they get it out, or did they flush it back down?
No, well, it slithered away.
Does that mean back down?
Probably.
Are they sure it was a snake?
Yeah. Yes, they are.
OK.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, let us know if you were lucky at, Cheltenham
really
yesterday. tvnews.com/you'll say.
Now, Donald Trump has threatened Vladimir Putin to accept a Ukraine ceasefire this week or prepare for economic ruin. That's as the Kremlin refuses to consider any potential deal before speaking to the US envoy directly in Moscow.
Financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace.
Well, this all comes as a classified document obtained by the Washington Post allegedly exposes Putin's plans to divide the Western alliance in order to weaken Donald Trump's negotiating position.
Well, the US president confirmed White House officials went to Russia overnight with hopes that Moscow will agree to that 30-day ceasefire deal.
Meanwhile, President Putin was spotted making the rounds on the front line of the Kursk region yesterday.
Yeah, that's a region, of course, which has been taken by Ukraine at the moment. Let's head to America and talk to political commentator Scotty Nell Hughes. Morning, Scotty. I mean, it would certainly seem, and probably people would say about time, that the gloves seem to be off with Moscow.
Well, good morning. And I would just have to caution your audience and anybody that's talking about this over the next 48 hours. I think it's going to be extremely crucial as to whether we're going to have peace, even if it's temporary just for 30 days, or if this war is going to continue on for months and months and cost more and more lives and money. I think one thing that you pointed out, talking about the American delegation going to Moscow, I think we need to make sure that we understand that it's the special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, who is leading this envoy. Now, he was appointed to be the special envoy to the Middle East. And yet Donald Trump has tapped him not once, but twice to have the conversations with Vladimir Putin and his administration. Not his own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who was the one who announced and took his victory lap with this Zelensky deal. He's sending Marco over to the G7. So I think that's very telling right now who Donald Trump trusts when in regards to dealing with Moscow and who he's actually putting his confidence in to bring a peace deal home in the next 48 hours.
Scotty, how likely do you think it will be that Russia will cooperate, especially since we've got these threats now from Donald Trump saying he'd devastate the Russian economy if they don't play ball?
Well, I don't know how many more sanctions the U.S. can already put on Russia that they haven't already over the last 3 years under the Biden administration. I mean, they've tried to economically cripple Moscow in every way possible, and it has not necessarily taken much of a toll. That being said, I think, all that we know right now is the agreement between the United States and Ukraine, and even those details seem to be a little bit sketchy. I think that it depends on what has actually already been agreed upon, or what is going to be agreed upon between the United States and Russia is going to be what's going to be whether or not this takes place. But I think it's very telling because we had a disastrous meeting between Zelensky and Donald Trump within the White House 2 weeks ago. We had, we just literally had one of our biggest social media campaigns were hacked this week by Ukrainian IP addresses. All of these things have happened, and yet Zelensky, the second that he left the White House, he went to the UK and the EU. They stepped up and they said, we've got your back, Zelensky. You don't need the US. If they fail, we're here for you. And yet Zelensky turned back again to the United States saying, I can't do this. I can't broker peace without you. I have to wonder how that makes the British government feel and the EU feel, because they were the ones that stepped up to his side when it was obvious America was saying, you're on your own on this, buddy. It obviously wasn't good enough for Zelensky. So it'll be real interesting to see who Zelensky claims, gives credit to for peace, considering it was the EU and the UK that actually came to his side almost immediately.
Yeah, to be fair, though, I mean, the UK and the EU have always said, we'll back you, but we still need American support. I mean, they've never said they can do it on their own. They know they can't.
Well, they did. When Trump said, when he stopped aid and intelligence coming, it was the UK and it was the EU that said, we don't care. We're still going to back you. In fact, we're going to give you more. We're going to continue to stand by you. So they did step up 2 weeks ago after that disastrous White House. And for some reason, Zelensky said that probably was not enough and went back to the White House, hat in hand, and has had to deal with Marco Rubio with this deal. But whatever way that we get to peace and a lasting peace, I think is important across the board for all parties involved. The question is, does somebody actually want peace? And if they don't, why not?
OK. Scotty Nell Hughes, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, the Prime Minister will make a milestone pledge today to tackle what he's branded our flabby state.
Whilst Keir Starmer will outline plans to transform public sectors, including the civil service, which he says is overstretched and unfocused.
Let's talk to political commentator Thea Washerwood. I mean, is this meant to be a surprise to us that the civil service is bloated?
No, we had Brexit, we had COVID, obviously with the pandemic, and we've seen the size of the state, the Whitehall machine just balloon in recent years. And Keir Starmer has come into government and he's recognised that there's a problem and he wants to deal with it. But actually, if you get into the detail of what he's proposing, and Pat McFadden, the Cabinet Office Minister, was obviously trailing today's announcement at the weekend, it doesn't amount to anything more than a voluntary redundancy scheme. The aim of what Keir Starmer is, this is for civil servants, he wants to cut the administrative cost for businesses, given what happened in the budget and the £40 billion worth of tax, £25 billion for national insurance contributions. You know, it appears now number 10 in the Treasury are listening to concerns of businesses, and this will be seen as one way that they can support businesses, particularly small businesses, to reduce their costs by reducing the bureaucracy when it comes to pieces of government administration that they have to go through. But in real terms, we've seen Keir Starmer before make a big announcement when it comes to the civil service or trying to get more out of the Whitehall machine, and then he's faced criticism from the unions, and he suddenly rode back and he said that the civil servants are all wonderful. So let's just wait and see what the reaction. I expect it's going to be he's going to get a hostile reaction from many in the trade unions during the course of today, and it'll be interesting to see what is how he responds to that.
Well, this is very Trumpian, isn't it? And this is traditionally Tory territory.
It is Trumpian, and it's interesting that there was a story yesterday that they've dubbed it Project Chainsaw, and that's a reference to, of course, Elon Musk appearing on stage at CPAP with the ginormous chainsaw and Doge. I think you're right to point that out, and of course, we know, particularly in red wall seats, that Labour won back at the general election. There are many many Labour supporters who might be tempted to vote Reform at the next election. Indeed, many Labour supporters did previously voted Labour, then went to the Tories and then chose Reform instead of returning to Labour. So many people out there in the country, I'm sure many of your viewers will be thinking we need fewer civil servants running the country, and will be actually quite supportive of this. My question mark is, does this actually materialise?
And it's a very big question mark, because, I mean, saying they're going to cut the civil service, well, we've heard that since at least 2010 under the Tory, I mean, right from the very beginning, and it didn't happen.
The civil service was reduced with austerity under Cameron and David Cameron and George Osborne, but you're quite right to point out then we had the Brexit, and that was seen as an excuse, this huge administrative task to bring forward the plans and negotiate with the European Union and to set our new relationship with the EU. That meant that we had to pile in more civil servants, create whole new departments in Whitehall, and then we had the pandemic, and that meant that we needed more civil servants as well. And now, of course, Keir Starmer is planning to do something about it, but whether it amounts to the wholesale reform that we're talking about in today's speech, let's see.
OK. Thea, good to see you this morning. We'll see you in the next hour. Thank you very much.
Now, as the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War approaches, the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, is announcing 4 days of events, celebrations and activities to ensure the next generation remember the values for which our predecessors fought.
Catherine Forster has more.
Culture Secretary, the VE Day anniversary, a big moment for this country, but it is a long time ago, and a lot of children now don't seem to have very much knowledge of our history or the Second World War in particular. What are you doing to overcome that, and how can people get involved?
Well, this is one of the last opportunities that we will have to hear directly from that remarkable generation who fought the war, who sacrificed a lot and gave us 80 years of peace. And I'm really aware that for my generation, this was part of our family history. My granddad fought in the war. We grew up with stories as the backdrop to our childhood about those campaigns. But for my little boy and his generation, this is distant history. That's why the programme of events that we're announcing for VE Day 80 80 is going to bring the past flickering back to life for that generation, whether it's through the work we're doing here at the National Theatre, with letters to loved ones, asking children to go into their attics and family albums, to get letters from their relatives, to share them as part of our national story and the way that we honour the legacy of that generation, or whether it's through the film that we're making with James Graham, which will bring that to life for that generation. We're determined that these incredible veterans will be able to hand on the torch to this next generation who, after the events that we're promoting and that we're delivering around VE80, will really know and understand the value and importance of what that generation did for us.
We're very good these days as a country at sort of beating ourselves up for all the things that we don't get right. But isn't this a real cause for celebration and taking pride in this country? And what makes you proud to be British?
Well, I mean, I represent a town where we've got a higher number of veterans than in almost any other part of the north, and I have lots of people serving in the armed forces at the moment. They, you know, a couple of them killed on active service, but many more fighting, and their families making incredible sacrifices. And our British Armed Forces are amongst the best in the world, and every year we come out and honour them on Armed Forces Day. We come out on Remembrance Sunday and remember the sacrifice that this generation made, and I'm really proud of that. When I look at the work that the Armed Forces are doing all over the world, I'm so proud that men and women from towns like mine are going off and securing the peace and leaving a lasting legacy, and I think we should take every opportunity that we can to celebrate them and to support them.
The Second World War, the men and women who died have given us 80 years of peace, but now we have war in Europe again. There'll be some people who will look at what's happening in Ukraine and say, it's got nothing to do with Britain, it's not our problem. What would your message be to those people?
Well, I think the more powerful message comes from the letters that we are sharing and that many families across the country are sharing as the legacy from that Second World War, where many of the veterans who then served had written back to their families to explain the importance of what they were doing. They were fighting until there was peace in Europe, and they were doing so because there was no other choice. And what they gifted to us was a legacy where we understood the importance of securing the peace so that that never ever had to happen again. And if you look at the situation in Europe at the moment, you look at the aggressive actions of Russia in Ukraine, it is absolutely incumbent on us as a country and on us as a government to show global leadership, to bring our allies together, to advance negotiations so that we can secure the peace and so that we can ensure that never ever again did we have to send a whole generation of mostly working class men and women off, many of whom lost their lives in order to secure the peace again.
Britain is very different now to how it was in 1945. Different religions, different backgrounds, 1 in 6 people not born in this country. Do you urge people of every background, every faith to come together to celebrate this and the best of British?
I think the Second World War was one of the starkest lessons in history about what happens when you demonise other people. We had 6 million Jewish people and many more besides killed in the Holocaust. And that generation, our remarkable generation of men and women from here in the UK went off and fought, not just to secure our peace, but to fight against one of the greatest atrocities that the world has ever seen. And I know, because I represent so many veterans in Wigan, that they feel that that is as much part of the legacy that they handed on to us as any other, and one of the lessons that they really want us to learn. And they were joined by people from all over the world. You know, the Gurkhas very famously fought alongside us, and we celebrate that, and we celebrate that as part of our legacy. Britain led those efforts, we led the world in those efforts, but we couldn't have done it alone.
Culture Secretary, thank you so much for talking to us today on GB News. Thank you.
Now, at 19 minutes past 6, let's take a look at the weather, shall we, with Tom Morgan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So it's staying chilly through the next few days, an icy start in places this morning. There will be a mixture of sunshine and showers, and as I say, temperatures still below average for the time of year. The ice most prominent across parts of northeastern parts of England through this morning. A mixture of sunshine and showers, though. Those showers most prevalent across more eastern and central parts of the UK through the course of today. Still a wintry flavour to them, some snow up over the higher ground. Further west, though, mostly dry skies with a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures, once again, are slightly below average for the time of year and feeling particularly cold where that wind is quite blustery. Through this evening and overnight, the showers continue to feed down some eastern areas of the UK, so some fairly heavy showers still perhaps possible through this evening's rush hour across southeastern parts of England, the Midlands. Further west, southwest England and Wales, seeing the best of the dry weather with some clearer breaks. Northern Ireland probably escaping most of the showers through the course of today, but one or two around perhaps through this evening. Further north across Scotland, we will see a focus for the showers to perhaps organise themselves into longer spells of rain and hill snow as we go through this evening. And as we go through tonight, we'll start to see more in the way of frequent showers coming back in across northern parts of Scotland. That's courtesy of a more defined area of showery rain and hill snow pushing southwards through the course of tonight. Elsewhere, further south across England and Wales, a mixture of clear spells and patchy cloud. We will see a fairly widespread frost developing once again, particularly in the countryside, lows of -2 or -3 degrees. So tomorrow is going to be another fairly cold day, still quite breezy, particularly for some eastern coasts of the UK. An area of showery rain clearing away from Northern Ireland through the morning, hill snow starting to ease away as well. So once again, the focus for the showers will be across eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of England once again. Some heavy bursts of rain perhaps possible, and still on the chilly side for the time of year.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this was the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And the BAFTA-winning actress, Daisy May Cooper, isn't holding back about what she thinks about Shakespeare. She thinks it's time to ditch the lot.
Well, comparing his plays to studying EastEnders in 600 years' time, she says that kids would be better off learning from TV dramas. But is she onto something, or is the Bard still a class act?
Sometimes it's better not to say anything, isn't it? Anyway, joining us to discuss this is the lifestyle journalist and parenting expert, Annette Kello. Annette, is studying Shakespeare these days the same as if you forced children in 600 years' time to study Pat Butcher?
Exactly. I mean, Pat Butcher's earrings to start with, maybe studying those in 600 years. But I think while she has a point that it is very old, I think we need to bring it up to speed and not scrap it, but reimagine it so that people today can learn it. The plays are quite long, which might be quite hard for kids to decipher. But I do think there's something in keeping it. We know that there's loads of words. I think it's 1,700 words that Shakespeare invented. And come on, which ones do you know? Swagger?
Oh, we were talking...
Addiction?
This is cheating, because we were talking a bit about this in the break, but assassination, critic, majestic,
Swagger.
And phrases like "it's all Greek to me." I mean, these things that just roll off the tongue. I mean, it's so important actually for understanding our own language more than anything else.
Exactly, and actually Jay-Z quoted that he takes inspiration from Shakespeare because apparently there's something to do with the rhythm that is similar to rapping. So I think things like that can be a really good lesson for children to kind of get in the zone with it, because it's quite hard to learn otherwise.
I mean, I can imagine it's very hard to teach Shakespeare these days to young children, because they are the TikTok generation.
GB News, the People's Channel.
That sounds really bad.
Welcome back. We've just been talking about washing, as in doing the laundry, because you won't know this.
In the break.
In the break, of course, yeah. Now, you won't know this about Mr Dixon, but he is... Dr Dixon to you and I, yes. He is the connoisseur of laundry. You ask him anything about how to wash anything, how to get any stains out of things, he will know. And we've just been playing a game. People in the newsroom have been asking Mr Dixon, Dr Dixon, sorry, how to get stains out of their clothes, and he'll tell you how to do it.
I'm very good at stains.
It's quite a fun game. So,
nothing makes me prouder than my whites being white.
Yeah. So, well, maybe we can't say the brands.
No, we can't say the brands.
But you've got all the tips. So if anybody's got any question about their laundry or things that you need to wash at home,
if you've got
get
a
in
stern,
touch.
I can send it out. Just post it to us here. I'll post it back clean. No, I don't do that.
You could start a service, though.
I could start a service.
But bed sheets and towels wash at 60 degrees is a very good tip from Dr Dixon.
Unless your towels are very high-coloured.
No, they're not. They're white.
Well, they're fine.
Thank you.
There's hygiene in this as well.
He's taught me everything I know about laundry, and every day when I put on a 60-degree wash, I think of you.
Yeah.
Not every day,
Not environmentally friendly, of course. They want you to wash everything at 30, but it doesn't work as well.
He said that was woke rubbish, yeah. Wash it at 40 instead. So there you go.
Wash slow, wash twice.
Exactly. It doesn't clean it properly, apparently. So 60 or 40. That's our tip to you this morning.
Yes. Anyway, you'll be pleased to know that, I'm sure. You'll be more pleased to know the Prince of Wales is going to head to Estonia next week to visit British troops involved in NATO operations.
Yes, during the two-day visit, the heir to the throne will also carry out engagements in the capital to learn about how the country has responded to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
Let's talk to historian Martin Whittaker. Is this a sign, Martin, of soft power in action?
I think it is. I think it shows the importance of the royal family, which we know about anyway, in communicating, British values and talking to the issues of the day. We only have to think how significant it was when President Zelensky met the King the weekend after that terrible spat between him and Donald Trump in the White House a couple of weeks ago. That sent a whole bunch of signals about British support for Ukraine. And the fact that Prince of Wales is going to Estonia really signals this once more. He's Colonel-in-Chief of the Mercian Regiment. And of course, he will one day be the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and he is himself personally a former soldier. But what it means is, by going there to support these British troops who are there in Estonia and Poland under Operation Cabret, it's a way of showing the national support for British soldiers who are on the eastern flank of NATO at this critical time with our relationship with Russia in such a tense and parlous state. So it really is significant. And as you say, he's going to the Estonian capital, Tallinn, as well. He's also going to look at renewable energy and technology there. But clearly, the primary purpose is to show the support of the royal family and indeed of the British government and the British nation for our troops in Estonia at this critical time. And it really is an indication of the way in which the royal family can send these signals in a way that nobody else can.
No, exactly that, Martin. Whilst we've got you, on the front page of most of the newspapers this morning are these wonderful photos of the Queen at Cheltenham. It looked like a real nail-biter, whichever race she was watching yesterday, in her faux fur, it must be said. The Royals have got a special relationship with the Cheltenham Festival, haven't they?
Yes, they have indeed. And of course, we realise that the late Queen, of course, had this deep connection with horse breeding and horse racing. And there was a very, very close relationship between the royal family and horse breeding and horse racing, and a particularly close relationship with Cheltenham. So I hope it's going to be a lovely day there today. The weather's been pretty good in the West Country recently. It should be a wonderful day for the racing. So hopefully they'll be checking out on the GB News tips. I did see those earlier. I'm not a betting man myself, but clearly people will be encouraged to do that, perhaps on the basis of the success. Maybe even now the royal family are having a flutter. Who knows?
Wow.
Maybe they're taking those tips on board.
They may be. Not that we'd encourage anyone to gamble, of course, Martin.
And indeed, I have to say, I'm not a gambler. I've never put money on anything. But there we go. I always hang on to a cash far too tightly, I can tell you. But maybe there are those who will be listening to those tips. But as I say, not my real field, I have to say.
The only thing I would say, Martin, invest in some colour catchers for when you wash that shirt, because it'll prevent any run. It's a lovely shirt, but just get a colour catcher in the wash.
And how many? Do you also give advice on money laundering as well, or is that a different area?
That's a different area, though. I do know a little bit about how to avoid it. I can't tell you how to do it.
Good. Pleased to hear that. And I will watch it when the shirt goes in. So, what temperature would you advise?
For that one. I do it on 40 with the colour catcher.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
You see, I'm going to appear on someone else's show as a laundry expert.
It's true. You've got a gift, Martin. Thank you. Good to see you as always.
It's a nice shirt. I like that shirt.
It's a very you shirt. Funky.
It is. On my days off, you see, I can be a little bit trendy.
And that's another thing you wouldn't know about him, yeah? You like all your funky shirts, don't you?
Like
your
funky
patterns.
Shirts. I'm covered in tattoos.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it to look at him. But he is.
Yes, I actually am. It's not a joke. Anyway, right, do you want, if you need to buy some colour catchers...
you need some money.
You need some money. How about £17,777?
Yeah, you might even be able to buy a new washing machine with that as well. But that's not all. You'll also win... Yeah, you'd like that. But you can't get involved, sorry. But you can, and you can also win not one but two sought-after designer watches and a designer bag as well. Here are all of the details that you need.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound?
Oh my God, that's brilliant news.
For a chance to win the cash, two watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, as Christians across the world observe Lent, we're going to be bringing you daily reflections from ministers around the United Kingdom. Here is the vicar, Mark Wilson.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Mark Wilson, a vicar in the Church of England. Temptations are all around us. We live in a world full of it. For me, temptation lies at the Chippy, just down the road from one of my churches. And I know that I'm not the only one. But the problem is we all fall into temptation, don't we? And we can wonder, why am I tempted? But this just isn't a problem for us, because God was tempted too. As Jesus was in the desert place and he was tempted by Satan himself, Jesus faced the temptation of food and power and safety. Everything that we face today. The only difference is he didn't fall when he was tempted. And here's the amazing thing. When Jesus died on the cross, he took our mistakes, the times when we fall, when we give in to temptation.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for your Thursday morning. In Staffordshire, the southbound M6, that's closed at the minute. Long delays there because of an accident. Junction 14, Stafford North to Junction 13 for Stafford South. In Bristol, the M5 South, the lane closed due to a police incident from Junction 18 for the M49 to Junction 19 at Portishead. And in Perth and Kinross, the M90, the Friarton Bridge at the minute, a lane closed there due to a broken down vehicle. That's going to affect you around Junction 11 for the A90 at Perth to Junction 10 this morning. And in London, in Crouch End, Tottenham Lane at the minute is currently closed due to an accident from Crouch Hill to Elder Avenue. And in Lincolnshire, Swineshead Bridge, the A17 South, closed due to a serious accident near to Donington Road. That will affect you this morning as well, so just be aware of that, of course. Across the UK, Europe Today.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, the end of February marks the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan, and the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was quick to wish all Muslims Ramadan Mubarak.
Yes, he was, and the royal family also took to their Twitter feed, and they have millions of followers to mark the occasion, sending their best wishes to Muslims in the UK, Commonwealth and all around the world.
Which is all very nice, and quite right, of course, because there are many, many Muslims who are in the Commonwealth, which the royal family heads. However, what's been said for the Christians?
Zippo.
Because there's been a deafening silence from, well, the royal family, politicians and many others as Christians mark the beginning of Lent, despite the fact the King is, of course, head of the Church of England.
Yes, it's all rather disappointing. Shall we get the reaction of the former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II, Dr Gavin Ashenden? Thank you very much indeed, Gavin, for coming on. Are Christians being forgotten in this country? I am taken aback by the fact that the royal family would take to their Twitter feed, which is watched by millions of people, to celebrate the holiday of Ramadan, but no mention of Lent, no mention of Shrove Tuesday, no mention of Ash Wednesday, nothing.
Yes, it's all very odd and it's not easy to understand because, as you quite rightly said, it's the right and courteous thing to do to wish Muslims well on what is for them a very important feast day. Why would we not want to be courteous and generous and supportive to people quite rightly pursuing their own religious devotions? But it's as well as two-tier policing, we appear to be having two-tier religion in this country because, as you say, there's complete silence for the Christians who still make up nearly 50% of the country.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 6:36. We're going through the sports now with Paul Coit, who's here with us. Morning.
Good morning.
Very lucky man you are.
What's that?
Well, you did very well with the Cheltenham tips yesterday. You didn't put anything on, but
OK, well, we'll do that in a minute. So I do have some more tips.
OK, great.
Because we did rather well yesterday. Now, yesterday was last night Champions League, last 16, second legs. Arsenal were playing PSV Eindhoven at the Emirates, and it was all done before because they won 7-1 over in the Netherlands, but it was 2-2 against PSV. So they win 9-3 on aggregate, and they will now play Real Madrid.
Oh, right.
It's going to be very difficult, and they got past Atletico Madrid on penalties last night. The other game, Aston Villa and Prince William was there, of course. Some great scenes of him celebrating. He was having a lovely time. They were 0-0 against Club Brugge up to half-time. They ended up winning 3-0, and it's all about the signings. Now, there's Marcus Rashford and also Marco Asensio. Now, he was signed from PSV on loan, and this guy has been terrific. He scored 2 goals last night. That's 7 in 8. And the interesting thing now is that Aston Villa will play Paris Saint-Germain, who beat Liverpool yesterday, or the day before yesterday. But Marco Asensio, his club he's on loan from is Paris Saint-Germain. Now, if you're on loan, are you following me? If you're on loan in the Premier League from one club to another, you can't play in the fixture against your parent club. But in the Champions League, you can. Oh. So what is he going to do? Is he going to want to do well for the club he's on loan to, or the parent club are not going to want him to score against them? But that's what he's going to have to face.
A tough one. Europa League tonight, Spurs facing AZ Alkmaar.
AZ Alkmaar is correct, yes. 1-0 down. RZ. AZ. Should we just AZ or should we RZ?
I don't know.
AZ Alkmaar. 1-0 down Spurs are, and
it's
at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tonight. So Spurs are 1-0 down. Ange Postecoglou, our friend Ange, was asked yesterday, now, because things haven't been going very well for Spurs, let's be honest. 13th place in the Premier League. So Ange was asked yesterday, basically, is this win or bust as far as the club goes and as far as your future goes, Ange? This is what he answered.
There aren't many professions in the world where you have to come in and answer questions like that, is there? There isn't there? Yeah, so, but I'm going to be polite and just say, look, we're focused on winning the game tomorrow night and need to put in a better performance than we did last Thursday. Obviously, that wasn't anywhere near the standard we want to play. Did some good things on the weekend, some not so good things, but we certainly feel like if we can play with the intensity and tempo we played on the weekend, we'll give ourselves a good chance to progress.
Doesn't like those sorts of questions.
He's a scary man, is Ange.
I reckon he's a teddy bear. He'll be one of those.
You reckon?
Yeah, he sounds tough,
Really?
and he'll be like...
I'm
really
not so
nice.
sure. I'm not so
Really?
sure. So the question was, like I said, it was like, is this win or bust? Is there a chance, that if you lose tonight, that you could lose your job? And it's like, well... There's not many other jobs you get out of such a thing. But then again, there's not many jobs you get about £8 million a year for. So, you know what I mean? So, anyway, you take it. That's what the press are there for, to ask the difficult questions. But it's a huge game tonight. Manchester United play Real Sociedad. Sociedad. I apologise. As that's currently at 1-1. And Rangers against Fenerbahce of Turkey, 3-1 up. And they go to Ibrox tonight. So, hopefully, all three will go through this evening.
It was a bit emotional at Cheltenham yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. It was Michael O'Sullivan. Now, Michael O'Sullivan is a jockey that passed away back in February. I think we talked about this, and he was involved in a horrible accident, and he died. Now, he rode Marine Nationale a couple of years ago at Cheltenham and won there. And Marine Nationale was one of our tips from yesterday that did come through and win.
And do you know what? When they said their name, it felt good.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's the picture there. So that is just as Marine Nationale won. And that's Sean Flanagan, the jockey, and obviously looking to the sky towards Michael O'Sullivan. So that's why it was a very emotional moment. But there's always stories around big races.
Yeah.
So New Lion won, that we tipped yesterday.
Yep.
Marine Nationale, that we tipped yesterday, came in.
Yeah.
Stumptown also came through, that won yesterday, that Paddy Aspel, who was our guest yesterday, he tipped. So I'm guessing you want some more tips, right?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm primed. I'm going to write this down.
Is Yellow Car running today?
Oh, actually, I don't know. I've been looking up Yellow. This is Harry's. This is Harry Redknapp's.
Yeah, I'm sure that's running today.
OK, we'll have a look at that.
You had a good feeling about that one, didn't you?
You did. Yellow Car.
Marine Nationale, I knew it yesterday and I didn't put bet on.
Really?
Yeah, you said it and I thought, that sounds
I like
good
the
to me.
sound of that.
Sounds like a winner.
Because often, when you bet on a horse, and you don't do it very often, it's the sound of the horse.
It's the sound. That's what I'm saying.
Sound of the horse. Everybody has different reasons.
But anyway.
320. Here we go. Now, so we got 3 out of 3 yesterday. This is the 320, the Ryanair Chase. Fact to file is our tip. Each way.
220.
320.
Oh, OK.
At the Ryanair
Start.
Chase. Fact to file. And at the 4 o'clock, our other tip for the day is in the Stayers Hurdle, and that's Home by the Lee.
OK, so I like the sound of that one.
Home by the Lee. 4 o'clock, Stayers Hurdle, 320 Ryanair Chase. Fact to file, they're our nags of the day.
All right.
OK.
Yep, I've written that down. Thank
There you go. OK.
We're out of time.
We are, unfortunately. Sorry.
I've got a great story about a golf tree, but I'll tell you more about that in an hour.
Look forward to it.
We look forward to that one.
All the teas.
It's not a golfing it's not a golfing tree, but it's a tree in a golf course. Which
a problematic tree.
A problematic tree, exactly.
Well, there you go. That's the story.
Don't need to do it now.
Let's have a quick look at the forecast for European hotspots.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
We've got some warm weather on the way over the next few days across the eastern Mediterranean, but further west, very unsettled still, with some heavy rain and thunderstorms. The showers most prominent across parts of southern Spain through the course of Friday, an improving story across parts of Portugal, but colder than average temperatures across Iberia. Some heavy rain and some snow across northern parts of Italy and the Balkans, but down across Greece, some fairly warm and sunny weather for the time of year with temperatures above average.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
What's your take on this then? Because my understanding is that you feel a bit disadvantaged as a result of the CGI characters here.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's taken away from people like myself who are professional actors, and these roles are made specifically for us. You know, we've got dwarfism, and it can boost our career, make money to pay for our families, and it's just an opportunity that's taken away from us because they're afraid of stereotyping or being derogatory, which is absolutely not.
Yeah, and this is not just in this film, it's actually happening quite regularly, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, because it came out a few years ago with Peter Dinklage saying that it was being stereotyping, having dwarfs playing dwarfs for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it's really wrong for people to say that. He's made his career, he started off doing that, and he's made a very big career out of it, and you have to start somewhere, and I think this is a big stepping stone for a lot of people with dwarfism.
Yeah, and look, I suppose in any acting, in a way, like, you know, if someone is playing the character of a very tall person in a biopic, you would presumably pick a very tall person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't really see why it's that controversial.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's absolutely pointless. I don't know what they're trying to get at, but I think it's this woke culture. They're afraid of upsetting someone, and, you know, if we didn't want to do it, we wouldn't do it, but it's very well paid, it's a lot of fun, and it's what we love to do.
And you have actually been in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs
Yeah,
previously.
I've been in it twice for pantomime.
Fantastic. And that was you, and you just enjoyed that. I mean, that was presumably that gave work to quite a lot of actors with dwarfism.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many actors around the UK and around the world that do it, and it's so much fun. You know, the kids have a great experience, and it's really important for them to be educated, because then they understand that there's different people with types of dwarfism, so they're not afraid when they see someone like that, because some people grow up and they're like, whoa, what's up with that person? But they start to understand the differences.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 6:47. We're going through the papers now with Alex Dyke and Scarlett Maguire. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Scarlett, let's start with you, shall we? And Keir Starmer says the British state has become overcautious and flabby.
Flabby.
Flabby. Look.
Is he the Ozempic of government?
Oh, very good.
There is a problem with the civil service.
Well, they're not going to the office for a kick-off.
Well, no.
It's all those biscuits at home.
I think most civil servants do a really, really good job. But there are people, and this has been going on, I mean, since the last Labour government. There's nothing new about this, and nothing's happened. And the Tories said, well, what we'll do is we'll cut it by not having an intake. Whereas actually what you need to do is you need to go into each office and see who's performing and who's not. It's not about taking a chainsaw to it, but it's about actually everybody in the civil service knows there are people who don't do any work and they're just sort of literally pushed to one side, and nothing happens to them, and we pay for them. And that's what he's talking about. He's talking about...
But they're looking at voluntary redundancies, aren't they? Will people who don't do any work and get paid for it want to take voluntary redundancy? For the fear they may have to get a job where they do have to do some work.
I remember Greg Dyke, when he ran London Weekend Television, explaining to me, he said, yeah, we do voluntary redundancy, and then I go to people and go, I suggest you take it. I mean, there's voluntary redundancy and voluntary redundancy.
Is that legal?
Well...
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
No, and nothing has changed. Yeah, I mean, you can get people to leave.
Right.
I just think it's not about the spending, is it? It's like the NHS. You can chuck billions at it. It's about the management of it all. I think we're looking at this from the wrong end sometimes.
But I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about the management. That's exactly what they need to do, is they need to manage the civil service.
Well, for the first time ever, Scarlett, we obviously agree.
Absolutely, it's all right. I'm sure we won't agree for the rest of the day.
Well, Scarlett, you've got a related story here saying AI could replace civil servants in The Guardian.
Yeah, well... I mean, AI is problematic, isn't it? Because because how many of us are going to be
not
replaced?
Me. We'll be all right. I'll be retired by the time it kicks in.
We could put in a bot for you. I mean, I think they're right. I mean, I think it's about, if it can be done with technology, why bother to do it with humans? Then it means it's a repetitive job. I mean, actually, what we need to do is we need to get technology working really well, and then people running the technology. And we want people to be more creative and doing things that technology can't.
All right.
I think the AI thing is a bit scary because the book's not been written on it and we don't know where it's going to go. And I tell you what, Stephen, there's a radio station that are using the late Tommy Vance as a DJ. Boom Radio, Boom Rock have taken Tommy Vance's voice with the permission of the family, and Tommy is back on the radio, which is lovely, but a little bit freaky.
Well, I don't know how I feel about that morally.
But it's the same about Michael Parkinson. And as I mean, Jenny Murray, who used to do Women's Hour, said, you know, forbade her children to do that after she said... I mean, I think it's a terrible thing to do.
Jenny.
No, I don't think it's going to be an issue for Jenny.
Be knocking the door down. I mean, all due respect to her...
Let's not be rude.
No, it's not being rude, but all due respect to her, she's not Michael Parkinson.
No, I know, but what she said is she can't imagine a worse... I mean, it's awful. I mean, I think the Tommy Vance thing is... You know, we've got great presenters, we've got great DJs.
You've got to allow stuff to be up and coming.
Yeah.
It's like me saying, yeah, I'm not putting in my will, I've no permission to use me as in an AI format. As if anybody would even think of it.
Wouldn't you like to live on forever, though?
No.
No, I would.
No, but I mean, I can't even...
Would you like to be a hologram?
Not really, no.
You know, like ABBA. I mean, they're at ABBA, right? You know, all these holograms of presumably when they were considerably younger.
It's all about making money, isn't it?
It's not the same.
I don't think anyone's going to make money out of me when I'm dead. Can we have a look, Alex, at married men piling on the pounds?
OK. Well, this is one of those...
You've got a wedding ring on.
I got a wedding ring.
And he's thin.
And you're thin.
Well,
come on, for a middle-aged man.
Not bad for a guy in his 40s.
Oh, bloody hell. Apologies.
Right, OK. So, marriage triples the risk of obesity in men, says this new research. Well, I'm thinking, yeah, what happens? We get comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get comfortable, we take our foot off the gas, we're all living on takeaways. Why are you two looking at me like that? We're all living on takeaways. A lot more since 1990, and what they're saying is it's doubled since 1990.
But it's happiness, isn't it? It's contentment.
What's interesting is the wives don't put on the weight, and you think, why not? Because they do all the cooking and they do the housework.
Yes, but many women watching this will say, well, I did. After childbirth, I piled on the pounds.
After childbirth, but then it comes off again because I mean, also the thing about men is they think, yeah, as you say, I'm happy, I'm content, I don't really have to do anything.
No, but it's showing they're not on the prowl. When if your husband suddenly starts losing weight, surely you'd be a bit suspicious, thinking they're trying to impress somebody.
Surely it's to do with our lifestyle, isn't it? It's to do with takeaway food. It's to do with we all eat out more now than men.
Why isn't it true for wives?
I think it is. This is one of those new research has found. Go out into any high street and look at the people who are obese. I would imagine there's just as many women as men, wouldn't you?
Well, you do see it.
You do see it, but it's just that the research says that women don't pile on the pounds in the way
everybody loves a survey.
But I look back to the 70s and the lots of very fat married men. It's not new.
I think it is. I remember when I was at school in the 1970s, I was in a high school of 1,300 children, and you get to see people, don't you, even though there's 1,300, and there were probably 3 or 4 fat children in the whole school.
Wow.
Well, now it's a different kettle of fish now, isn't it? Well, on that slightly
Which is takeaways and things.
Well, that could well
I mean,
be
the
for
thing
kids.
about children is it is about junk food. There is no question about that.
All right, you two, thank you.
Thank you too. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's get a check on the weather now with Tom Morgan.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So it's staying chilly through the next few days, an icy start in places this morning. There will be a mixture of sunshine and showers, and as I say, temperatures still below average for the time of year. The ice most prominent across parts of northeastern parts of England through this morning. A mixture of sunshine and showers, those showers most prevalent across more eastern and central parts of the UK through the course of today. Still a wintry flavour to them, some snow up over the higher ground. Further west, though, mostly dry skies with a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures, once again, are slightly below average for the time of year and feeling particularly cold where that wind is quite blustery. Through this evening and overnight, the showers continue to feed down some eastern areas of the UK, so some fairly heavy showers still perhaps possible through this evening's rush hour across southeastern parts of England, the Midlands. Further west, southwest England and Wales, seeing the best of the dry weather with some clearer breaks. Northern Ireland probably escaping most of the showers through the course of today, but 1 or 2 around perhaps through this evening. Further north across Scotland, we will see a focus for the showers to perhaps organise themselves into longer spells of rain and hill snow as we go through this evening. And as we go through tonight, we'll start to see more in the way of frequent showers coming back in across northern parts of Scotland. That's courtesy of a more defined area of showery rain and hill snow pushing southwards through the course of tonight. Elsewhere, further south across England and Wales, a mixture of clear spells and patchy cloud. We will see a fairly widespread frost developing once again, particularly in the countryside, lows of -2 or -3 degrees. So tomorrow is going to be another fairly cold day, still quite breezy, particularly for some eastern coasts of the UK. An area of showery rain clearing away from Northern Ireland through the morning, hill snow starting to ease away as well. So once again, the focus for the showers will be across eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of England. Once again, some heavy bursts of rain perhaps possible, and still on the chilly side for the time of year.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Hertfordshire, the northbound M1, long delays and a lane closure due to an accident. Junction 4 for Edgware to Junction 5 at Watford. In Staffordshire, the southbound M6 remains closed due to an accident. Junction 14 for Stafford North to Junction 13 for Stafford South. Better news in Bristol, the M5 South, all lanes are open after the police incident. Junction 18 for the M49 to Junction 19 at Portishead. And in Perth and Kinross, the M90, the Friarton Bridge, a lane closed there due to a broken down vehicle. Junction 11 for the A90 at Perth to Junction 10 at Craigsend. And in the Lincolnshire area, in the Swineshead area there, the A17 currently closed due to an accident. It's going to affect your Station Road to Donington Road at the Buckabout roundabout. That will affect you this morning. Across the UK, you're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We want to spruce up your spring with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash that you can spend however you like. But that's not all, as you'll also receive not 1, but 2 brand new designer watches and a fabulous Mulberry handbag. For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Trump's push to Putin, either back peace or Russia is finished.
I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia.
Cracks in the Kremlin's power play as the White House piles on the pressure to stop the fighting in Ukraine.
But as a classified document claims to reveal Russia's secret plans for Ukraine, we ask, who's really holding all the cards?
No change to the definition of terrorism. That's the Terror Watchdog's recommendation after a review of the Southport murders.
Bloat in Britain, the Prime Minister will admit the public sector is overcautious and flabby in a milestone speech today.
As VE Day approaches, our very own Catherine Forster sits down with the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy.
Programme of events that we're announcing for VE Day 80 is going to bring the past flickering back to life for that generation.
Day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival, and Royal Watchers delighted in Queen Camilla's surprise appearance at Style Wednesday.
It was an emotional win yesterday in that Queen Mother Champion chase for Marine Nationale. Day 3 at Cheltenham is all about St Patrick's Day. I'll have all the details.
A marriage of love or food? As it's revealed that married men are 3 times more likely to be obese, we debate if love makes us lazy.
And in the sport, well, Prince William is looking forward to a trip to Paris now after Aston Villa went through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League, as Arsenal will now play the dreaded Real Madrid next. Well, don't know how Jack's tips are, but our tips all came through yesterday. All 3 winning at Cheltenham yesterday. More coming up for St Patrick's Thursday, and the most hated tree in golf has returned to Sawgrass for the Players' Championship, which gets underway this afternoon.
It's a cold and an icy start out there this morning for some of us. We have got a mixture of sunshine and showers once again today, but find out all the further details you need in the full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Spotted this in the papers today, and I don't like it. It's a 12-year-old girl who is charging her father for doing jobs around the house. So much so that she's bought one of those card machines, you know, that you tap.
Oh, like a tap-tap.
A tap-tap machine. Yeah. So she's charging £5 to wash the car, £1 to walk the dog, 50p to load and empty the dishwasher. And he says, oh, well done, she's being an entrepreneur. Mind you, this is the man who charged, with the card machine, charged his Christmas guests £75.
Oh, really?
So it runs in the family then?
So it runs in the family. But I'm sorry, and actually, I think children should contribute to keeping the house running.
Well, they have to, because they're living there rent-free.
Oh, here we go. Of course, she also gets £10 for doing well at school, every time she does well at school.
Right, yeah.
Does everything have to be bought?
Yeah.
Does she get a £5 if she sleeps through? I mean,
yes. Well, yes.
You clearly pay your children.
No, I don't. No, I don't. There's part of it, and I think, well, you know, cleaning the car you get for fun. That's not a bad idea, you know, and that it's a little entrepreneurial.
How do it work with your kids? Do they get pocket money, or was it?
They do get pocket money, and no, they don't get paid for doing different things.
Aww.
And no, they don't. But
so they just get the pocket money either which way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm still Rubens at university.
You're a proper softie, aren't you?
I am a softie, but you know they do the stuff. But I wouldn't be averse to them going, well, I'll clean your car for £5 to have your car cleaned. It's not bad, is it?
Well, it's not bad, but I just think the idea that you should get paid for everything when you're meant to contribute to
I agree with that.
Contribute to a household.
Because you wouldn't say, listen, any chance of tidying up your room? Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be £7.50. That's not going to happen, is it? That's not a good idea.
No, you've got to pull your weight.
And these kids are probably the kids who are going to end up living at home until they're 45 and not pay any rent.
Yeah, because they've been making a fortune. They make more money from living at home than they would be otherwise. Yeah.
I don't know. Am I grumpy old?
I see what you're saying.
I don't like the
I
idea
also
of
see both sides on this one, I've got to say.
I don't like the idea of a tap-tap machine. We've gone too far.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
Machine.
Dad, tap that, then I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah, no, I don't like that at all.
I feel like naming and shaming, but as she's only 12, that doesn't seem very fair. But she has put herself on page 23 of The Sun.
Yeah.
So...
Do you reckon she got paid for the story as well? I'm not going to do the story on that, am I?
Probably.
20 quid, please.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now, Donald Trump has threatened Vladimir Putin to accept a Ukraine ceasefire this week or prepare for economic ruin. That's as the Kremlin refuses to consider any potential deal before speaking to the US envoy directly in Moscow.
Financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace.
Well, it all comes as a classified document obtained by the Washington Post allegedly exposes Putin's plans to divide the Western alliance in order to weaken Donald Trump's negotiating position.
Well, the US president confirmed White House officials travelled to Russia overnight with hopes that Russia will agree to that 30-day ceasefire deal.
Meanwhile, President Putin has been spotted making the rounds on the front line of the Kursk region. Now, that's part of Russia that actually Ukraine forces have taken over.
Well, let's go to US political commentator Laurie Laird now. Good to see you this morning. And it seems that after weeks of the pressure being on Ukraine, it's finally turned to Russia.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised about this. And Donald Trump, if nothing else, does keep people a little bit surprised, does keep people guessing. But as for whether Donald Trump can exert additional pressure on the Russian economy, I'm not entirely sure that there's much more pressure to be exerted. Certainly there are more sanctions that can be imposed, but Russia's been pretty clever about skirting some of the pretty heavy sanctions that already exist. And I think the bigger point, though, is Vladimir Putin doesn't have to subject himself to nitpicky little things like free and fair elections. He doesn't seem as mindful of the economic suffering or economic state of the people who live in Russia, and that gives him a whole lot of latitude. He doesn't have to worry about being reelected, so therefore he doesn't, by extension, care that much about the financial state of a lot of his citizens.
Well, does that mean Donald Trump has got more bark than bite?
When it comes to, well, certainly not with some of the other countries that he's threatened over the past couple of weeks. Certainly every time he has threatened sanctions on smaller countries, he has got some kind of a concession. But I think Russia is a very, very different story. Vladimir Putin doesn't care that much about his people. So, and remember, Russia's already under some pretty heavy economic sanctions, and the economy's not doing that badly. Partially that's because it has retooled itself as a war economy. And in fact, one of the problems that Russia has right now is getting people to fill jobs. So many men of fighting age and above fighting age, to be honest, have been sent to the front line. There aren't enough people left in Russia to fill the jobs that do exist. But there has been some fairly deft economic management by the central bank there. The economy isn't in as terrible shape as you would think, but it all comes down to the fact that I don't think Putin is going to be campaigning the next time he runs, if he does run, on economic prosperity. And that takes away a very key bit of leverage from the United States.
OK, Laurie Laird, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Now, the Prime Minister will make a milestone pledge today to tackle what he's called the flabby state.
Whilst Keir Starmer will outline plans to transform public sectors, including the civil service, which he says is overstretched and unfocused.
It all comes on the same day as the terror watchdog published its investigation into the Southport murders. It recommends the government create a new offence of mass killings, but stops short of proposing a change to the terror definition.
Well, in response, the Home Office has said it will fix the legislation to close the gaps that have been identified.
Let's talk to political commentator Theo Usherwood. Can we talk about the flabby state to begin with? There's always fat to trim in these sort of things. Labour is not normally the party that does it, or at least tries to.
No, and it is, Rachel Reeves needs to make significant savings, and of course there are going to be some tough decisions. She's already spoken about welfare cuts potentially for those on disability and incapacity benefits. This is a way of also looking at the state. We've seen it balloon as a result of Brexit and COVID, with more civil servants than ever working right across Whitehall. And this has been now identified as Keir Starmer. And you're right to say, of course, this is something perhaps the Conservatives, you'd expect the Conservative government to do, but not Labour, that Keir Starmer is going to set out today how he plans to tackle the flab of a state that, in his view, it didn't. If you have a large state, it doesn't necessarily mean that you get better public services. And from the government's point of view, they're looking at, quote unquote, working people and improving things for voters. And Keir Starmer's come to the conclusion, I don't think many of your viewers will be surprised by this, they'd already known it, that more civil servants doesn't necessarily equal better results. But a quick question mark, because they've announced, of course, they're going to scrap the payment systems regulator, and you'd think, OK, that's one quango to go. I went on the GB News website, and you've identified 27 others that they've created since they came to power. So you've got the Creative Industries Task Force, the Tree Planting Task Force.
Yes, that's one that stands out to me.
Yeah.
The Tree Planting Task Force.
The Skills England Industrial Strategy Council. And I'm sure all of these quangos will have a worthy cause and a worthy task, but it doesn't necessarily chime with the narrative we're going to hear from the Prime Minister that he wants to cut the size of the British state.
Can we also ask you about this terror watchdog report? It's published its investigation into the Southport murders. It stopped short of proposing a change to the terror definition.
Yes, so obviously what happened in Southport, the horrendous murders and maimings and the destruction of a community and lives in Southport. Many were left wondering, well, obviously there was a terror offence that was announced later, but why didn't the police, when they investigated Axel Rudabakana from the outset, label this, or class this as a terror offence? And Keir Starmer, following Rudabakana's guilty plea, and obviously was sentenced to 52 years in prison, made the point that I think many people feel as well, that this was an attack designed to cause terror. However, it fell outside the definition because it was not underpinned by one particular ideology. So Keir Starmer ordered a review by Jonathan Hall, KC, who's the reviewer, and he went away and had a look at expanding the definition, so something like Rudabakana, what he did would fall under as a terror offence, and came to the conclusion that actually to do so would risk impinging freedom of expression. And his view was that if you were to widen out the definition, you could end up in a situation where people might share, and this is an example cited, war films, and that might be seen as spreading terror. But what he has done is he's saying there needs to be a new offence where if you are found to be planning an attack which would kill more than 2 people, that needs to be a separate offence, and it must have the sentence of a life sentence. So rather than ending up in a situation where the police...
A life sentence or a whole life?
Not a life sentence, a life sentence. A life sentence, not a whole life sentence.
But you'd get that anyway for murder, wouldn't you?
So yes, but this is even before the offence has been committed. So this would allow the police. So this would allow the police, if they went into, let's say, the next Rudabakana's bedroom and they seized his computer and looked through the details, or went through notebooks or found receipts for knives or whatever, to say you were planning to do, this is proof that you were planning to commit this attack. And rather than an individual being sentenced, to 18 months in prison or 2 years in prison, and then coming out and going on, being able to commit the attack, the judge would have the power to impose a life sentence to ensure that they're put away and the public are kept safe. And Jonathan Hall's case has come to the conclusion that is a better way of protecting the British public, rather than bringing an attack where there is not an underpinning ideology folding that into terrorism legislation because of the impact that it would have on freedom of expression.
Yeah,
it's a really thorny one to. I'm sure your viewers will have an opinion about it. It's a really thorny one to grapple with, because absolutely, if you're, what we saw in Southport looked to me and looked to everybody, it looked like a terrorism attack.
Yeah. OK, got to leave it there for now. Thea, really good to see you. Thank you.
Now it's St Patrick's Thursday at Cheltenham today. Jack Carson's there for us. Morning, Jack.
To you, I decided I'd leave the whippet at home this morning. So
we loved it, really, Jack.
Once again. Well, it's day 3 at Cheltenham. It's been a fantastic few days already, and some seriously fantastic racing as well. Lots of shocks, lots of surprises. I mean, they call Cheltenham, don't they, the greatest show on turf, and it's certainly delivered already on the 2 days that we've had. Slight little look towards tomorrow for the Gold Cup, of course. Everything really culminating in that massive stamina race tomorrow. But equally today, St Patrick's Thursday, the 3:20 today is the big race. But it was a really emotional day yesterday in the Queen Mother Champion Chase. A beautiful, lovely surprise that Queen Camilla herself, Her Majesty the Queen herself, came here to watch and present that trophy to the owner, the jockey, and the trainer. And Marine Nationale winning that race. Bit of a surprise that Marine Nationale won, but emotional because it was the horse the jockey Michael O'Sullivan rode here a couple of years ago and won a couple of years ago with. I mean, he died, of course, tragically in a fall just last month. There was a lot of raw emotion. His girlfriend was here and watched Marine Nationale get saddled up and was part of the team looking after that horse all day. So it was a very, very emotional day. And Sean Flanagan, who rode Marine Nationale, ended up winning by about 18 lengths in the end. So it was quite a convincing victory after the horse closest chasing fell at the last hurdle. But Flanagan saying after that race that he said, "I'm just the man on him today. Michael made him what he is," talking about how it was a hugely emotional day for the family for lots of reasons, saying his family find it very hard. Jockeys in Ireland, England and around the world have, he says, been under a cloud for the last couple of weeks. John Bond, which was the favourite going into that race, has been trained by Nicky Henderson, who's already had some wins here at Cheltenham this week, went into that race with around 17 wins from 20, losing 3 at Cheltenham. It just wasn't his luck yesterday, and we are set here on St Patrick's Thursday for another fantastic day at Cheltenham.
Oh, looking forward to it, Jack. Is it freezing there today? I know it was snowing yesterday. How's it looking weather-wise?
Well, we've had no snow here, which is quite the picture from what we're seeing now here behind me. I mean, it was just covered in snow yesterday, but it is still absolutely freezing.
Oh, get yourself a hot drink.
Yeah, have a nice cup of tea, Jack.
Have one on us.
Yeah. We'll see you at 8.
Right, let's see what the weather is going to do where you are today. Here's Tom.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So it's staying chilly through the next few days, an icy start in places this morning. There will be a mixture of sunshine and showers, and as I say, temperatures still below average for the time of year. The ice most prominent across parts of northeastern parts of England through this morning. A mixture of sunshine and showers, though. Those showers most prevalent across more eastern and central parts of the UK through the course of today. Still a wintry flavour to them, some snow up over the higher ground. Further west, though, mostly dry skies with a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures, once again, are slightly below average for the time of year and feeling particularly cold where that wind is quite blustery. Through this evening and overnight, the showers continue to feed down some eastern areas of the UK, so some fairly heavy showers still perhaps possible through this evening's rush hour across southeastern parts of England, the Midlands. Further west, southwest England and Wales seeing the best of the dry weather with some clearer breaks. Northern Ireland probably escaping most of the showers through the course of today, but one or two around perhaps through this evening. Further north across Scotland, we will see a focus for the showers to perhaps organise themselves into longer spells of rain and hill snow as we go through this evening. And as we go through tonight, we'll start to see more in the way of frequent showers coming back in across northern parts of Scotland. That's courtesy of a more defined area of showery rain and hill snow pushing southwards through the course of tonight. Elsewhere, further south across England and Wales, a mixture of clear spells and patchy cloud. We will see a fairly widespread frost developing once again, particularly in the countryside, lows of -2 or -3 degrees. So tomorrow is going to be another fairly cold day, still quite breezy, particularly for some eastern coasts of the UK. An area of showery rain clearing away from Northern Ireland through the morning, hill snow starting to ease away as well. So once again, the focus for the showers will be across eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of England. Once again, some heavy bursts of rain perhaps possible, and still on the chilly side for the time of year.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, are you lazy in love? Well, it turns out married men are 3 times more likely to be obese than singletons?
Well, it's got us asking this morning, does marriage make us a bit lazy? Is it the comfort of it? And is it a slippery slope to piling on the pounds?
Well, let's talk to TV personality Lizzie Cundy and relationship expert Nadia Essex. Morning to you both. Lizzie.
Good morning.
Lizzie,
Good morning.
when you were married, did you pile it on? Did your husband pile it on? Because he was just too in love with you.
Hopefully he's not watching, but yes, he did. Look, I married an Adonis. I married a Chelsea footballer, and when our marriage ended, he wasn't quite in that shape, I'll be honest. But look, we get complacent, don't we? We get lazy. It's like wearing a comfy pair of slippers. You feel you don't have to bother. And that is sadly, you know, what happens in marriages. The
What's wrong with
spark
that?
goes, and you're lazy because you've got to keep that spark alive. It's so important. And look, this is worrying me. You know, in men, 3.2 times more likely to be obese. Now, look, we marry in sickness and health, not in sickness and sickness. Let's be honest. And obesity has a huge problem, massive strain on our NHS, as we know, costing 6.5 billion. We need to keep the spark alive in marriage, and that's not what's happening.
And Lizzie, what do you think the difference is between men and women then? Because this study says it's men that are 3 times more likely to get obese. Women seem to stay slimmer.
Well, that's it, because most, you know, really, women are doing more of the housework, running around. Men are probably more lazy because, you know, they're sitting on the couch watching the football, having a beer and eating the kids' leftover foods. You know what it's like. You know what they're like.
So stereotypical. That's so unfair.
It's very true.
Nadia,
Many of my friends say, look, they don't make the effort anymore. And look what it says. It says in this as well, men put on the weight. It isn't the women.
Nadia, what do you reckon?
Well, I think Lizzie makes really good points. And as someone who was married to someone and then, you know, they put on the pounds, she's proof that that study is true. I think a lot of single people, though, are also struggling. I do think obesity in general is a real problem because a lot of single people that I see or know, or if I coach, they're also putting on weight because they're at home, they're by themselves, they don't want to go out, the fear of rejection, and they're scared of all the, excuse me, the things that could happen. And they could be seen as being lazy too. But I mean, that study is pretty damning for married men. And I must say, social media is quite radicalizing because you just see, especially around Christmas, I saw a lot of women complain or talk about the fact that their husbands were not involved. And that can radicalize a person to be happy to stay single.
There's got to be an argument, Lizzie, in all of this. If you were with a fella and all of a sudden he starts to lose weight, look after his appearance, do his hair, you'd be worried what he was after, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, possibly. I mean, I had a friend that was married and suddenly her husband was losing weight. He was having this designer stubble, loads of aftershave, you know. She was saying, what's going on? And, you know, she preferred him when he was bigger and sloppy and sitting on the sofa because she used to worry every time he went out. That is a part of the problem. But I think it is all about becoming... You can't win. But it's about being lazy. And I think we've got to look at food as a comfort. You know, people eat food sometimes because they're happy, they're content, but other times people eat food when they're not happy, and maybe there's a few married men there that aren't happy in their marriages.
Nadia, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds sensible, doesn't it? I mean, if they're 3 times more likely, that is a huge amount. And perhaps it's time to do some, you know, where's Joe Wicks when you need him? Can we get a Joe Wicks for married men?
Wow.
Yeah, actually, he's hiding under my table. I might bring him out and give you. But it is true. We need. I think.
Good morning, Lizzie Cundy.
No, we really do need to keep relationships alive, keep that spark alive, not let things go. Have date nights, watch what you eat, keep fit and well for yourselves, and keep that relationship fresh, because you don't want it going downhill.
Well, no, that's true. You don't. But I think we'll all have to agree to disagree on that one. Lizzie, Nadia, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, ladies.
I think men are under fire. We can't do right if we put weight on. We're not doing right if we lose weight. I mean, typical, isn't it?
Men
under
can't
fire.
win. Men have it so tough.
We do. You have no idea.
Got a view in from Jeremiah, 15, who says, my husband is 1 in a million. He does everything apart from the cooking.
Well, there you go. And he might be fat. Who knows? But at least he's happy. Right, let's talk money. £17,777 in tax-free cash could be yours, along with 2 designer watches and a designer handbag. Here's how you enter.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound?
Oh my God, that's brilliant news.
For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. With us now is Shadow Treasury Minister Gareth Davies, MP. Good to see you this morning, Mr Davies. Can we start by asking you about this major speech from the Prime Minister that we're expecting later on today about the state? He's going to describe the public sector as overcautious and flabby. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, I may not put it quite the same way. I think it's good that they're looking to reduce the size of the state. Of course it is. And when in government, we look to increase productivity, investing in technology to do so. However, I should point out that Labour are starting from a higher base than when they came into office. They're increasing spending by £70 billion extra per year. And it is forecast, the state is forecast to increase to 44% of GDP by the end of the decade. So they're actually increasing the size of the state, not decreasing it. But look, the sentiment is right, and we wish them well.
How are they increasing it? I mean, look, it's all a bit rich from the Conservatives, isn't it? Since your time in government, I mean, you've 100,000 extra in the civil service since 2016. Till you left power. I mean, you absolutely inflated the civil service.
So take the civil service. You're right to point out that during the pandemic, it did increase. Of course it did. We had more people working to support the economy, to support businesses, and the size of the state increased in terms of spending during the pandemic as well. Of course it did. And I remember doing lots of interviews at the time and people challenging me that it wasn't enough. But that needs to come down. We're not in a pandemic situation right now. We're not in a crisis. The country is not facing the challenges that we faced during that pandemic. So it is right that we reduce the size of the civil service. You'll remember before the election, we laid out some very serious and clear plans to reduce the civil service. Labour need to do the same. It wasn't that long ago they were advocating for the 4-day week for the civil service, and actually this is, you know, a positive step today for the Prime Minister, but the state is increasing. It's important to point that fact out.
There's also been a lot of conversation about diversity and inclusion, probably as a result of Trump coming in for his second presidency. But the Conservatives have been very critical of the time and money spent on D&I training and initiatives. But then looking at your record, under your rule, the Government Equalities Office expanded. Reports that civil servants spent thousands of hours on D&I training and spent £27.1 million on equality, diversity and inclusion initiatives. So you're now attacking Labour for this, but these policies grew under your government, didn't they? So why didn't you take a tougher line when you had a chance?
Well, look, we can talk about the past all you like. We're not in government anymore. We lost the last general election and Labour in power now. But it is right that I think Organisations like the FCA have come out saying that they're going to drop their plans on D&I. I think that's important. We want the FCA, the financial regulator, to be focused on economic growth, not on other initiatives. It's a fair challenge, but we have new leadership now and moving forward and challenging this Labour government to make sure that all of these organisations are focused on the right thing, which is growing our economy and making sure that we're as competitive as possible. Unfortunately, the budget last year is undoing that work for the Labour government right now.
But the problem is, it's all about, especially, you know, the position the Tories are in now, and you're wanting to rebuild trust. That's really important, but you can't help but look at this and say, you're saying, do as I say, not do as I did.
Like I said to you, we lost the last general election. We're moving forward under new leadership, and it's important to hold the government to account right now.
Forgive me,
we
but
can
is
talk
that
about
an
the past
admission
all
that
you like, but today is worrying a lot of people.
But is that an admission that you got it wrong when it comes to D&I?
We got a lot of things right in government. We got some things wrong. I think there was a creep in D&I across the civil service. And while we were battling other crises, such as the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and other things, and focused on, in government, growing the economy, which we did, perhaps other things didn't get as much attention as they should have done. But right now, we're the official opposition. We need to hold Labour to account. They're in power now, and it's important that we do our official responsibility, our official job to make sure that people across the country are paying more tax. Debt is going up. We have to hold them to account.
Can I ask you about tariffs? Those 25% tariffs on all imports of steel and aluminium have hit this week. Should we offer counter tariffs? I mean, how should we be responding to this?
Well, it's very worrying for a lot of people who work in the industries affected. Of course it is. What we are urging the government to do is rapidly engage with the US president and the US administration on a free trade agreement. We worked on this when Donald Trump was in power the first term. We made great progress and it got sidelined by Joe Biden, but he has an opportunity, I think, to engage with President Trump, make some progress towards an FTA. That is the solution for our economy to avoid these tariffs going forward.
But why not add retaliatory tariffs when that's what everyone else has done, including the EU?
Well, I don't think we're at that point yet. I'm a free trade conservative. I don't believe that tariffs are the right thing to do right now. Like I said, an FTA, a free trade agreement. Prime Minister's talked up how he's engaging with the president positively. Let's see it. Instead of warm words, let's get an agreement with Donald Trump, with the US administration, to ensure that tariffs don't apply to the UK. He needs to make that an urgent priority on behalf of the British people and the jobs that are going to be affected by these tariffs.
Can I ask you about the terror watchdog publishing its investigation into the Southport murders? It stopped short of proposing a change to the terror definition. Do you support that finding?
Well, we'll look very carefully at the whole report, of course we will, but we've always said that terrorism should be focused on this ideological obsession of individuals, not broadened out necessarily. We will look very carefully. He's made some other recommendations about mass violent attacks, and of course when that comes through to legislation we'll scrutinise that very carefully and take a position on it. But the broad point here is that we want as much action as possible to prevent terrorism. Every action, every incident is of course a tragedy and affects millions of people's lives just through fear alone, and so it's important that we have the appropriate measures in place, the legislation in place, but we shouldn't see a massive creep of the definition of terrorism which would hinder things like free speech.
OK, look, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Anita's been in touch.
Thank you.
Hi, Anita. She says, can you really say it's a bit rich? Makes you sound like a Labour supporter. Why don't you speak to Labour like that when they're the ones in charge, not the Tories? You've got to ask the Tories about why, if you're criticising something that the government is doing when you were also doing it when you were last in power just a few months ago. It's a legitimate question, isn't it? Anita says, you don't say to Labour when you were last in power, well, it was a very long time ago. And sometimes you do have to let it go. I mean, it's 15 years ago since they were in power. So I mean, I get what you're saying, and I mean, and Gareth Davies would agree with you.
Yeah.
He didn't want to talk about what was happening in the last Conservative government, but it's a legitimate point.
And we're still feeling the effects, and we're still dealing with the consequences of decisions made by the former government, because it was only 8 months ago.
Yeah, it's not a long time ago. And if they're going to criticise D&I when they increased D&I. Just a few months ago, then you've got to ask why, don't you? If only to make sure that they wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, recognise a mistake was made. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Do stay with us. Still to come, sport with Paul. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Staffordshire, the southbound M6, 2 lanes are closed due to an accident. Junction 14, Stafford North to Junction 13 for Stafford South, causing some big queues on surrounding routes there. In South Yorkshire, the M1 South, there's an exit slip road partially blocked there due to a broken down vehicle. Junction 33 for Catcliffe, Sheffield and Rotherham. In Hertfordshire, the northbound M1, the earlier accident is now cleared just after Junction 4 at Edgware. In Essex, the southbound M11, a lane closed at the moment due to an accident. Junction 8 for Bishop Stortford to Junction 7A at Harlow North, and in Berkshire the eastbound M4 a lane closure due to a broken down vehicle. Junction 10 for Wokingham and Bracknell to Junction 8 and 9 at Maidenhead, and in Perth and Kinross the M90 the Friarton Bridge South is now all clear following the broken down vehicle from Junction 11 for the A90 to Junction 10. You're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Paul's here, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Should we do a very good morning? A very good morning to you.
And a very good morning
Very good morning
to you.
and a very good morning to you.
Yes.
I would like to talk about football.
OK. How about Arsenal 2, PSV Eindhoven 2?
Yeah.
On aggregate, 9-3, because they won 7-1 in the first game over in Eindhoven.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you'd like to ask me about?
No, not really.
Let me tell you, though, that they are going to play Real Madrid in the next round. I said earlier, dreaded Real Madrid, because nobody wants to play Real Madrid, although Real Madrid came through against Atletico Madrid last night. That went on penalties. So there was the Madrid derby, so they're going to play Real Madrid in the Champions League.
I'd end up going to the match wearing a Madrid T-shirt.
Yes, exactly, just Madrid.
Come on, Madrid.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong, can you?
No, that'd be all right then.
So they're going to play Real Madrid. Aston Villa beat Club Brugge 3-0 last night. It was 0-0 at half-time, but they went through to win 3-0. So that was 6-1 in aggregate, so they did really well, but they will be playing Paris Saint-Germain in the next round, who put out Liverpool. So probably arguably the two best sides in the Champions League left, PSG and Real Madrid. So they're going to be playing Arsenal and they're going to be playing Aston Villa. So they're going to be tricky games.
Should we look at Cheltenham? St Patrick's Thursday.
Yeah, St Patrick's Thursday. I know we had Jack on earlier. He looked really cold, didn't he?
He did look cold.
Freezing, but we had a very good day yesterday with our tips. We had two. I had two, and also Paddy Aspel had one. All three of ours, although we said each way, everyone won their race. So well done. New Line 3-1, Marine Nationale came in at 5-1, and Stumptown in the 320 coming at 5-2. And I've even had messages of people saying thank you.
Well, yeah.
Who've made a few, but listen, don't take this too seriously. But we do have tips for the day, and that's at the 320, the Ryanair Chase at Cheltenham. We're going with Fact to File.
Yep.
And the 4 o'clock Stayers Hurdle, Home by the Lee.
Right.
Each way.
I feel good about that one.
You got a feeling about Home by the Lee?
about that one.
Okay.
What's this diabolical hanging tree?
Yes.
The hanging tree.
It's the hanging tree. It's the Players' Championship in Sawgrass. Well, they have the Players' Championship. It's always called the fifth major in the States. It's always a big event. Now, there's this really scary tree. I think we got a picture of the tree. There was this scary tree that was it was just in front of the sixth tee. And when anybody would hit their ball, there we are. You see how much it's overhanging. And it's a nightmare to hit you because the chances are you're going to hit the overhanging branches of the tree. So everybody hated it. Then 11 years ago, the tree was removed. These were the words from Sawgrass. A sad day at TPC Sawgrass as we've lost our most recognisable tree due to poor health. It had a fissure in its trunk, which is quite painful, I believe. So even though they then... What they decided to do was replace the tree. Now, this is what they've done. They looked around the course to see if they could find a similar tree, and it is possible to dig up a tree and put it back. So for tee-off this afternoon, there will be another tree that is very overhanging and very similar to the last one because it was such a famous overhanging tree.
There you go. We've got 60 seconds.
60 seconds?
Birthdays.
Birthdays. All right, let's go. First one. Got some birthdays to go. First one is going to be famous boxer Joe Bugner. Let's see if we can see Joe Bugner. Joe Bugner fought in the 70s, fought in Muhammad Ali, and fought Frank Bruno at the end of his career, so he's knocking on. He hasn't probably fought for about 35 years, lives in Australia now. How old?
He's 79.
Good guess.
77.
75 is the right answer. Next one. Former Dutch footballer, always wore the glasses. Quite scary. I met him, very scary guy. Edgar Davids. Edgar Davids.
Right, when was that photo taken?
Played about, let's say, 15 years ago? Was 10, 20 years ago was his peak?
45.
45?
47.
52.
Oh, 52.
We'll try for two more. How about this? Referee Mark Clattenburg.
Oh.
How old is Mark Clattenburg today? 54?
42.
Oh, 50.
Oh.
One more. I've got good hope for this one. Coco Gauff. There she is.
Coco Gauff.
Coco Gauff. Her name's actually Corrie. Her parents are called Corrie and Candy. Her brother's called Cody and Cameron. Did you know that?
She's 29.
29? Are you serious?
29. She's about 21, isn't she? Oh, it's 20. 20. One
is the right answer. 21.
Oh, sorry, Coco.
Sorry, Coco.
I'm a fan, Coco.
Very good.
Thanks, Coity.
You win.
I win.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much
today.
indeed. Excellent. About time too. Right, before we have a look at the papers, let's have a look at the European hotspots.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
We've got some warm weather on the way over the next few days across the eastern Mediterranean, but further west, very unsettled still, with some heavy rain and thunderstorms. The showers most prominent across parts of southern Spain through the course of Friday, an improving story across parts of Portugal, but colder than average temperatures across Iberia. Some heavy rain and some snow across northern parts of Italy and the Balkans, but down across Greece, some fairly warm and sunny weather for the time of year with temperatures above average.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference.
It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Well, let's talk about something that has really divided opinion now. So this is King Charles gearing up for a religious festival, not Easter, Ramadan, packing dates for Muslims, observing a month of fasting. Here's the clip.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize the king would be so fast. You are packing dates faster than I can see them.
What do you make of that, Charlie?
Well, I don't see any problems with it. I mean, let's not forget that the royals, particularly the king, does an awful lot of work with a variety of charities, especially those charities that help people who are, down on their luck or need a bit of extra boost. This one is a doorstep charity which provides help to people waiting for new homes. Now, you mentioned this one. This is for Ramadan. Now, in a month's time, Patrick, he'll be doing the Easter service. A Christian festival, and he'll on the day before Good Friday, he'll be donating the Monday money that comes out every year to 30-odd pensioners. It's not a princely sum. They're not going to be able to pay the winter fuel outs, or it's not going to cover anything like that. But it is symbolic. Now, he does an awful lot of things. And remember, years and years ago, Charles has always said he didn't want to be defender of the faith. He wanted to be defender of all faith. So it's only right that the king fosters good relationships with a variety of religions.
As well, Charles, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you on.
All the
Good to
best.
see you again, mate. It's been a little while. It's Charlie Ray there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, let's see what's in the papers at 7:50 with Alex Dyke and Scarlett Maguire. Let's start with Rupert Lowe's letter to Nigel Farage. Alex.
Yes, well, Scarlett and I have been outside for the last 40 minutes bickering about this. So we've got the letter here. Anyone can get the letter because the letter is on X. Even though Rupert's saying, I want to sort this out in private and behind closed doors. Well, he's hardly done that if he's put it all on X. I think this is a case of jealousy. I think Nigel's the main man and Rupert doesn't like it. And I think it's as simple as that. What Nigel needs is to use AI and create his own party members, because it seems that not a lot of people can get on with him within the party, and he's so good at doing what he does.
Scarlett?
I think we have to remember that this all began with GB News' own Andrew Pearce doing an interview with Rupert Lowe in the Mail last week, in which Rupert Lowe said that Nigel Farage saw himself as a messiah, and we need a bit less of that if we're going to get anywhere. And obviously, from then on, it has been fighting, and they've put allegations that Rupert Lowe sexually harassed people, his staff. I mean, it's been awful.
Well, it's allegations of bullying within his office, isn't it?
Yes.
Which he, of course, denies.
Completely denies, and they've got a KC working on it, a barrister, who we really don't know, because Rupert Lowe says one thing and she says something else. But, I mean, what this is this always happens in Nigel Farage's parties.
See, what's interesting about the letter, though, is sort of talking about Reform Party members. Their hard work, their efforts, their determination, that's what put us here. Not me, not you, them.
He's putting ego aside there, isn't he?
Yeah, he says egos must be parked to resolve this. I'm trying to do that by reaching out again.
But then he puts it on X.
Well,
so doesn't that say a lot about his ego that he's put it on X?
But then the first line of this letter is that he's invited him privately for dinner, hasn't received a response, so he says this is his last effort to publish this letter.
But that's surely just he's just trying to embarrass Nigel. And am I right in thinking that Rupert Lowe has never been to Reform HQ?
I don't know.
Well, this is what Nigel says. I mean, the problem is that you can't... choosing between the two. I mean, the other problem, of course, is that Elon Musk has said on X that he thinks that Rupert Lowe should run Reform and that Nigel Farage is not
up to the job.
Up to the job. So actually, there is a lot of bitterness there, and one has to say that if Reform can't even keep 5 MPs,
but hasn't Nigel
together,
moved mountains with very little budget? I mean, surely there's no Reform without Nigel.
Well, that's the argument, isn't it? But is that a way to be? I don't know. I mean, Nigel is one of the most remarkable politicians of a generation, but you have to be able to work within a party structure behind you.
Yeah, he is a one-man band. I mean, he is a great one-man band. He is a wonderful self-publicist. He knows how to do it all. And every time, his parties fall apart because, actually, he just likes to be him.
It's a mess, and it's a real shame because there's been a lot of public support for an alternative. Now, whether you agree with that politically or not, if there's a public demand for it, it should be there, but it's very sad to see it falling apart.
And the worst possible timing as well, the local elections in May.
Absolutely. And what we don't know is how much is whether it's just a row at the top between two men.
Is it a storm in a teacup, or is it?
Or is it actually splitting the whole party?
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, because go on, darling.
The King, Scarlett, has told of his deepest affection for Canada. Is this an example of soft power, do you think?
I think that I think we have to look up to the Canadians, right? Is that they are being bullied and threatened by Donald Trump, and what he forgets by saying, "Why don't you just become the 51st state and I'll take off all the tariffs?" is actually Canadians are incredibly patriotic. I mean, their national anthem is "Oh Canada." I mean, I know a lot of Canadians, and boy, do they think Canada is the best country in the world, which is what one should think if that's where you come from. And I think King Charles is being very clever by reminding everybody, including Donald Trump, that he is also King of Canada, and that possibly, he doesn't want one of his Commonwealth countries to become the 51st state. But he saw two senior Canadians, yesterday, and while what they discussed obviously was completely confidential, we all know that...
Isn't he being very kind, though, because they did take the Union Jack or the Union flag off of the Canadian maple flag 60 years ago. So isn't he being very, very kind to Canada?
Well, you say he should abandon them because...
Well, I don't think he should abandon them, but, if they're going to take our flag off of their flag, then maybe he shouldn't be quite as generous, is what I'm saying.
No, I think he's not. I think he's being. I think he's being clever. I think he's being clever. I think he's showing that actually, to all of us, people who are not royalists, that actually you can do very good things as the king.
You'll be backing him next, Scarlett.
I've been so rude about Charles for so long, and I think he's doing something really good.
Right, thanks both. We'll see you later.
Thank you too. We're back in a few minutes for the top stories.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Staffordshire, the southbound M6, 2 lanes are closed there due to an accident. Junction 14 Stafford North to Junction 13 Stafford South, causing queues in and around Stafford at this morning, I'm afraid. In West Sussex, the M23 South, a lane closed there due to a lorry having its tyre changed. Junction 10A for Crawley South to Junction 11 this morning. And in London, the M4 into town, queuing on the exit slip road due to a broken down car. That's at junction 3 for the Parkway. And also as well at the moment too, we've got obviously in North Yorkshire, the A1M northbound, one lane closed at the moment due to an overturned vehicle. Junction 50 at Ripon to junction 51 at Leeming Bar. Traffic, as you'd imagine, already there this morning, looking quite slow from what we can see. We'll keep you up to date anyway. You're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Trump's push to Putin, either back peace or Russia is finished.
I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia.
Cracks in the Kremlin's power play as the White House piles on the pressure to stop the fighting in Ukraine.
But as a classified document claims to reveal Russia's secret plans for Ukraine, we're asking, who really holds all the cards?
No change to the definition of terrorism. That's the terror watchdog's recommendation after a review of the Southport murders.
Well, these changes really don't go any way to answering the big questions that many people in the wider community have. The fact that a man ultimately charged with terror offences was not deemed to be a terror suspect in the early stages, which of course led to those horrific riots across the country.
Bloated Britain. The Prime Minister will admit the public sector is overcautious and flabby in a milestone speech today. Here's a rather diplomatic response from the shadow Treasury Minister, Gareth Davis.
They're actually increasing the size of the state, not decreasing it. But look, the sentiment is right and we wish them well.
As VE Day approaches, our very own Catherine Forster sits down with the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy.
Programme of events that we're announcing for VE Day 80 is going to bring the past flickering back to life for that generation.
It's day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival and Royal Watchers delighted in the Queen's surprise appearance yesterday.
And in the presence of Her Majesty, an emotional win for Marine Nationale, winning that Queen Mother Champion chase. It's St Patrick's Thursday here at Cheltenham, and I'll have all the details.
We're heading to Bournemouth and to Southport to visit some of the nation's most famous piers. Turns out they're in need of a bit of love these days.
And sport, Aston Villa and Arsenal both stroll through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League, where they'll meet Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid next. Europa League tonight, Spurs are behind against AZ Alkmaar, Manchester United level with Real Sociedad, Rangers are 3-1 up against Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. Clive Allen will join us soon to discuss. And day 3 of Cheltenham Festival. After our successes, we have more tips coming.
It's a cold and an icy start out there this morning for some of us. We have got a mixture of sunshine and showers once again today, but find out all the further details you need in the full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Oh, this talk about peers is making me think about Southend or Southend.
Oh, in your normal voice.
You're just saying it correctly. Southend.
It's a very long pier, that, isn't it?
The longest in the world. Isn't it? The world's longest pier. It's over 25 miles long. OK, it's not a mile. It's a mile, right? Isn't it? Always remember, it's a mile long.
1.3 miles, to be precise.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 1.3.
Right.
And it takes at least...
I think you'll find it's actually 1.33.
3, if we're being even more precise.
OK.
Takes half an hour to walk each way, says the website.
Well, it's got a little train, though, hasn't it? It's got a little train.
It's got a train that goes part of the way.
Yeah.
I like walking down Southend Pier. But I love piers, seaside towns and a pier. They're brilliant.
End of the pier show.
Yeah. But they are
all that stuff.
They're not in good nick, and the towns are often not in good nick at the moment. They do need some loving. Blackpool, fabulous place.
Yeah.
And the piers, North Pier, South Pier.
Yep.
East Pier, West Pier.
It's actually a lovely day out, isn't it? Especially if you've got a bit of sunshine. Go down, get your bag of fish and chips. Get your stick of
And you
rock.
look through the wood and you can see the sea through the middle.
Yeah.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Which goes...
Yeah. I do. I love a pier. I do love a pier, but I'm a seaside boy.
Yes, I know you are. Yeah.
So it's in my blood.
Yeah.
But we do need to invest a bit more and get all this sort of very British stuff back tip-top shape.
Back to its best. Well, we're going to be in Bournemouth on the pier, and we're going to be in Southport as well with Sophie Reaper and Adam Cherry a little bit later on, so that'll be fun.
Nice. Lovely stuff. Right. Let's turn our attention to world politics, should we? And Donald Trump has threatened Vladimir Putin to accept the Ukraine ceasefire this week or prepare for economic ruin. But that's as the Kremlin has refused to consider any potential deal before speaking to the US envoy directly.
Well, financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace.
Well, this all comes as a classified document obtained by the Washington Post allegedly exposes Putin's plans to divide the Western alliance in order to weaken Donald Trump's negotiating position.
Well, the president confirmed White House officials went to Russia overnight. There are hopes that Russia will agree to that 30-day ceasefire deal.
Well, meanwhile, President Putin was spotted making the rounds of the front line in the Kursk region. Well, earlier we spoke to political commentator Scotty Nell-Hughes.
And anybody that's talking about this over the next 48 hours, I think it's going to be extremely crucial as to whether we're going to have peace, even if it's temporary just for 30 days, or if this war is going to continue on for months and months and cost more and more lives and money. I think one thing that you pointed out, talking about the American delegation going to Moscow, I think we need to make sure that we understand that it's the special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, who is leading this envoy. Now, he was appointed to be the special envoy to the Middle East. And yet Donald Trump has tapped him not once, but twice to have the conversations with Vladimir Putin and his administration. Not his own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who was the one who announced and took his victory lap with this Zelensky deal. He's sending Marco over to the G7. So I think that's very telling right now who Donald Trump trusts when in regards to dealing with Moscow and who he's actually putting his confidence in to bring a peace deal home in the next 48 hours.
Scotty, how likely do you think it will be that Russia will cooperate, especially since we've got these threats now from Donald Trump saying he'd devastate the Russian economy if they don't play ball?
Well, I don't know how many more sanctions the U.S. can already put on Russia that they haven't already over the last 3 years under the Biden administration. I mean, they've tried to economically cripple Moscow in every way possible, and it has not necessarily taken much of a toll. That being said, I think, all that we know right now is the agreement between the United States and Ukraine, and even those details seem to be a little bit sketchy. I think that it depends on what has actually already been agreed upon, or what is going to be agreed upon between the United States and Russia is going to be what's going to be whether or not this takes place. But I think it's very telling because we had a disastrous meeting between Zelensky and Donald Trump within the White House 2 weeks ago. We had, we just literally had one of our biggest social media campaigns were hacked this week by Ukrainian IP addresses. All of these things have happened, and yet Zelensky, the second that he left the White House, he went to the UK and the EU. They stepped up and they said, we've got your back, Zelensky. You don't need the US. If they fail, we're here for you. And yet Zelensky turned back again to the United States saying, I can't do this. I can't broker peace without you. I have to wonder how that makes the British government feel and the EU feel, because they were the ones that stepped up to his side when it was obvious America was saying, you're on your own on this, buddy. It obviously wasn't good enough for Zelensky. So it'll be real interesting to see who Zelensky claims, gives credit to for peace, considering it was the EU and the UK that actually came to his side almost immediately.
See, what I find interesting about that, and both of our commentators have said it this morning, is that Trump, there's not a great deal he can actually do. He's saying he can, in effect, destroy Russia economically. And both of our commentators, and Scotty Nell Hughes, who's, quite a Trump fan, said, well, so there's not really much he can do. Actually, most of it's already been done, and Putin can find his way around it.
It's already been applied, yeah.
So is it all bark and no bite? I just don't know. You've got to do something to rein or to threaten Putin with, otherwise he won't come into line, will he?
And the timing is interesting as well. Why threaten before these talks in person have taken place? If you're wanting to make a deal.
Don't know.
Threats might not be the best idea.
Might not be. It's worked with Ukraine.
It's worked with Ukraine, so maybe it's all part of the tactic. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Now, the terror watchdog has published its investigation into the Southport murders. It recommends the government creates a new offence for mass killings, but it stops short of proposing a change to the terror definition.
In response, the Home Office has said it will fix legislation to close any gaps that have been identified.
Well, we're joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Good to see you this morning, Mark. And this watchdog has found that the terror definition is still adequate.
Yes, he believes that the definition of terrorism is wide enough, and that to widen it further would just include all kinds of people who are not at all terrorists, but of course are individuals who might carry out multiple murders, such as gangsters, crime gang members, things like that. I should say as well that he's not proposing a new definition or a new law under mass killings. Anybody that carries out a mass killing is going to be charged with murder anyway. It's all about preparing acts of mass murder at the moment. If you're preparing acts of terrorism, that's a specific law in which you can receive life in prison. There are no similar laws for preparing acts of mass murder, such as a school massacre. So it's about tightening up that loophole. But it seems to me that, by actually not addressing the elephant in the room over what the public was or wasn't told about Axel Rudikabana in Southport, that we've gone no way at all to actually solving what is a key issue of mistrust now in the wider community. Because at the time, many people felt this looks like a terrorist act, it smells like a terrorist act, it must be a terrorist act, but they were told all along there was nothing to suggest in any way, shape or form that this was terrorism, that they were still looking for that. And of course now, even to this day, they say he wasn't defined to any particular ideology, and that's fine. But he has been convicted of terrorism offences, of possessing Al-Qaeda related documents, of also producing the deadly toxin ricin with a view to carrying out a deadly attack using that. He is in prison in Belmarsh being treated as a terrorist prisoner, because the Home Secretary herself stood up in Commons and admitted that he is now a terrorist prisoner. But yet the Prime Minister at a news conference a couple of months back told us that, yes, he did know about the Al-Qaeda documents and he did know about the production of ricin, but he withheld that from the public. He said he withheld that from the public for very good reasons, and that was because he didn't want to do anything to get in the way of the legal process. But there are many legal commentators, including myself, who've covered many, many criminal trials, know that that is a nonsense, because the ricin, the Al-Qaeda document, formed the basis of charges that were presented to a jury in court anyway. You would not be prejudicing a jury by, you know, stating the facts of the case that it's going to be put before a court.
Yeah, you make a very good point. We've got to leave it there, but we'll speak to you later, Mark. Thank you.
Now, as the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War approaches, the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, is announcing 4 days of special events, celebrations and activities to ensure that the next generation remembers the sacrifices of their predecessors. Catherine Forster spoke to Lisa Nandy about her plans.
Programme of events that we're announcing for VE Day 80 is going to bring the past flickering back to life for that generation, whether it's through the work we're doing here at the National Theatre with letters to loved ones, asking children to go into their attics and family albums, to get letters from their relatives to share them as part of our national story and the way that we honour the legacy of that generation, or whether it's through the film that we're making with James Graham, which will bring that to life for that generation. We're determined that these incredible veterans will be able to hand on the torch to this next generation.
Yeah, it's going to be quite something. It's going to be something to really celebrate, actually, and to educate the young, but to give our thanks, possibly one last time, to those veterans who are still with us.
Yeah, it will be the last major anniversary where we will have those veterans there with us and their personal testimony of what it was like. So it's really important that we commemorate them in that way.
Of course,
and put them front and centre.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right, it's 14 minutes past 8. Should we head over to Cheltenham?
Oh, let's.
Because Jack Carson is there for day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival. It's St Patrick's Thursday. Why is it called St Patrick's Thursday when it's not St Patrick's Day till Monday?
I think it's just because it's just one of those. It's just a day that they can call it that. I think, to be perfectly honest, and it's because it's the closest really. We've got St Patrick's Day next week, so it's the closest race because, of course, first day is Champion Day. Yesterday was Star Wednesday. Today's St Patrick's Thursday, celebrating St Patrick's Day ahead of that on Monday, because tomorrow it's all about the Gold Cup. It's all the big racing all of this week, the culmination, and you can see here behind us the track. It's absolutely beautiful, this race course. It really is. You can see some of the hurdles, which we've had many shocks and surprises with some of these hurdles. They've caused a lot of stories this week, particularly the final hurdle, causing a lot of horses to fall at it. Some of the horses you might be able to see going for a bit of a walk, a morning stroll this morning. Much better conditions this morning, that is a fact, compared to the snow we had yesterday. But yesterday was a fantastic day once again here at Cheltenham. What a lovely surprise for Her Majesty the Queen as well to come here and witness the racing yesterday. We know she is a keen fan of horse racing, of course one of the joint patrons of the Jockey Club with His Majesty the King as well, and also taking up the royal patron role of the British School of Horse Racing as well, which is based down in Newmarket in Suffolk. So we know she's a keen race fan. So she presented the trophy of that Queen Mother Champion chase to the winning owner, jockey and trainer yesterday, and it was really emotional actually yesterday, because Marine Nationale won that 2 years after Michael O'Sullivan won with that horse here. He was the jockey who died tragically last month, and so the jockey riding him really dedicating that win yesterday. It was a surprise win for Marine Nationale yesterday after the horse that was closest fell at that final hurdle and ended up winning by about 18 lengths, but Sean Flanagan, who was riding that horse, saying that he was just the man on Marine Nationale that day, saying that Michael made him what he is. It was hugely emotional because the girlfriend of Michael had been here spending time with the horse all day, watching it be saddled up, and that victory dedicated to him. But today is St Patrick's Thursday. Of course, the 320 is the big race today, and I've got my eye on Jungle Boogie. I quite like the name Jungle Boogie. That's placing quite well, but Factophile very much the favourite in that. But there are a couple of Grade 1 races, the 320 and the 4 o'clock, both Grade 1 races today, so some good quality racing to have sure come out of today. And tens of thousands of people will once again be here at Cheltenham, enjoying all of the festivities, and I'm sure getting into the mood on St Patrick's Thursday today.
OK, Jack Carson, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Talking of money and having a good bet at the races, how about some readies in your pocket? £17,777 in tax-free cold hard cash could be yours.
But that's not all. You could get not one, but 2 designer watches and a designer bag as well. So if you want to look and feel the part this spring, here are all of the details that you need.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound?
Oh my God, that's brilliant news.
For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, 18 minutes past 8. Let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Well, a record 5 million people are now in the higher tax bracket of 40%. It means about 700,000 more people have been dragged into paying higher taxes in 2024 compared to the previous year, according to official figures.
Queen Camilla delighted royal watchers yesterday as she attended Style Wednesday at Cheltenham Festival as part of her role as patron of the Jockey Club. Her Royal Highness presented trophies to the winning jockey and the trainer of the Queen Mother Champion steeplechase. The wife of King Charles elected for a sustainable look, re-wearing one of her favourite faux fur hats.
And do you fancy getting your groceries for free? Tesco's is trying out a new scheme that would see some yellow sticker items priced at nothing, free.
Free.
Past at 9:30 in the evening, part of a campaign to slash food waste.
I think that's a great idea, don't you? Food for free after 9:30? If it's going to get thrown in the bin anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
It's a marketing campaign, isn't it? We'll all be going to Tesco's trying to get a free shop. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. But if it's going to go in the bin anyway, I think it's better than...
Charge 10p for
waste.
It. No, nothing.
Yeah, 10p.
I don't know.
That's what they do on Christmas Eve, isn't it? And people go mad for it. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say. Now, at 20 minutes past 8, let's get a check-in on the weather, shall we, with Tom Morgan.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed Heat Pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So it's staying chilly through the next few days, an icy start in places this morning. There will be a mixture of sunshine and showers, and as I say, temperatures still below average for the time of year. The ice most prominent across parts of northeastern parts of England through this morning. A mixture of sunshine and showers, those showers most prevalent across more eastern and central parts of the UK through the course of today. Still a wintry flavour to them, some snow up over the higher ground. Further west, though, mostly dry skies with a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures, once again, are slightly below average for the time of year and feeling particularly cold where that wind is quite blustery. Through this evening and overnight, the showers continue to feed down some eastern areas of the UK. So some fairly heavy showers still perhaps possible through this evening's rush hour across southeastern parts of England, the Midlands. Further west, southwest England and Wales seeing the best of the dry weather with some clearer breaks. Northern Ireland probably escaping most of the showers through the course of today, but one or two around perhaps through this evening. Further north across Scotland, we will see a focus for the showers to perhaps organise themselves into longer spells of rain and hill snow as we go through this evening. And as we go through tonight, we'll start to see more in the way of frequent showers coming back in across northern parts of Scotland. That's courtesy of a more defined area of showery rain and hill snow pushing southwards through the course of tonight. Elsewhere, further south across England and Wales, a mixture of clear spells and patchy cloud. We will see a fairly widespread frost developing once again, particularly in the countryside, lows of -2 or -3 degrees. So tomorrow is going to be another fairly cold day, still quite breezy, particularly for some eastern coasts of the UK. An area of showery rain clearing away from Northern Ireland through the morning, hill snow starting to ease away as well. So once again, the focus for the showers will be across eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of England. Once again, some heavy bursts of rain perhaps possible, and still on the chilly side for the time of year.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
You can smack, thwack, thump, and everyone's got a different definition of what it is.
I'm not an idiot.
Smacking
Most parents aren't idiots. They can draw a distinction between those.
Lazy, shortcut parenting, and there's no case in which it's justified. Smacking spreads. So you smack one, they're going to smack their siblings. They're going to go into school and disagree with other children and give them a whack. And then what about, do you give proxy rights to teachers, nursery workers?
No.
And in fact, no, you don't. So you love your child so much that you're going to smack them. Only you. It's special for you.
Hang on a minute, Anna May. Are you, just so we're clear, Anna May, are you accusing Bev of being a bad mother or something here?
I'm saying I can't believe that in 2025 somebody would come on TV and defend doing something to a child that wouldn't be acceptable to a
Bev,
dog.
do you want to come back to that?
If you smack a dog in the streets, Bev, if you smack a dog in the streets,
Let's let Bev in.
Is almost every parent is smacking their child, except they won't admit it. And so what you've developed by that sort of parenting, it is true, is you've developed a culture of shame, whereby parents might have that instinct, as mammals will have, whether it's a monkey or a cat or a lion. In the natural world, the adult, the parent of that young cub, whatever it is, will occasionally.
What are we talking about here? What are we talking about this? Are we talking about hurting children with your hand and also not even having a standard? Paediatricians are saying don't do it. And also this argument, I know what's going to come next. You're going to say, oh, the police could be involved. Aren't they going to be too busy to do this? Guess what? Children can't dial 999, particularly the very young ones.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 8:26 now. We've been talking about the Terror Watchdog's review of the Southport murders. It recommends the government creates a new offence for planning mass killings.
But it stopped short of proposing a change to the official terror definition, claiming that it would increase the risk of inaccuracies in future cases.
CEO and founder of Freedom from Abuse, Marilyn Halls, joins us now. Do you agree with this decision, Marilyn?
Well, I think it's really complicated because there's so many factions here that actually don't sort of join up. So stepping back from the, the Casey, Jonathan Hall, and I've been listening to Mark White. So a mass killing is more than 4 people. So what happened in Bushy, dreadful, that was 3 people. That's not a mass killing. But that guy was fueled by Andrew Tate and watching those sort of sexualized videos that fueled his hatred of women. There is a cohort, and I actually do agree with Keir Starmer on this. I'm not a fan of his, but I do believe there is a cohort of loners and young men stuck in rooms, stuck in bedsits that have grudges and grievances and mental health issues. Maybe that comes from their previous home life, but there's also, like Raducanu, whatever his name was, he was living with his parents. So I think there's a whole lack of cohesion between mental health. That awful thing in Nottingham that went on, the Nottingham attacks. He was known, that guy, by the mental health departments. The Prevent programme was dreamt up in 2015, so that's 10 years old now. Maybe their criteria needs to be looked at because, people are referred and then, okay, or you don't fit the criteria. So, what happens now? Well, I've been looking at the Prevent programme this morning, how their definition of it is, and it actually says that they are expected, this multi-agency forum, they don't say who it is, they are expected to cooperate in sharing information. Well, some of these cases, you don't fit the criteria, off you go. Where to? Where are they signposted to? So there's lots of things. Like with David Amos.
Marilyn, it just seems like in a lot of it, like a complete lack of common sense being applied.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And, even with parents, if you want to actually see what your children are doing, I mean, it's difficult if you've got a 22-year-old living with you who, so I'm an adult, I can do what I want. But, if you go to your server box, there's a pass key on the back of it and a website, and there's a password, and that will tell you who and what is being looked at on your internet. So you could actually check if you've got a 22-year-old holed up in his bedroom. What is he looking at? And be more proactive. So, but I do think there is a complete disconnect. The online harm bill, for instance, that has got no teeth, that needs to be changed. That the easy access to be fueled by Andrew Tate and even pornography that actually, really is causing bad behaviours in schools, harmful sexualised behaviours, humiliation and degradation of women. All these things need to be looked at, and I don't think it can be just a grandstanding knee-jerk reaction to have a look at, the terrorism bill. People have got to become more accountable, do their jobs properly, and as you say, using common sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there was the first mass killing we had, and I remember
Forgive me, Marilyn, we're absolutely out of time. We are chock-a-block, but you make your point so very well. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Marilyn. Do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit will be here with all your sports. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. In Surrey, the anti-clockwise M25, a lane closed there due to a broken down vehicle just after junction 10 for the A3 at the Wisley interchange. In Staffordshire, long delays on the M6 South. 2 lanes are closed due to an accident. Junction 14 Stafford North to junction 13 for Stafford South. And also as well at the moment as well in Staffordshire on the southbound M6. 2 lanes are closed there due to a broken down lorry now just before junction 14 for Stafford North. Currently in Cheshire, the northbound M6, all traffic temporarily being held due to an accident. Junction 18 for Middlewich and Holmes Chapel to junction 19 at Knutsford. And also in North Yorkshire, the A1M northbound, a lane closed due to an overturned vehicle. That's junction 50 at Ripon to junction 51 at Leeming Bar. So that will affect you there, of course, this morning too. We'll keep an eye on that on the A1M in North Yorkshire. Europe Today.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
It's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back. It's 8:33. We're going through the sports now with Paul Coit, who's here with us. Morning.
Hello. Did Jack mention the fact of how successful our tips were? I bet he didn't do it while he was at...
Oh, did he? He didn't do it effusively enough.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
Jealous.
He offered his own.
Did it? He offered his own? Did he? His own tips?
Yeah, he said,
What right has he got to give tips?
They weren't very good.
Well, we don't know they're going to be good yet.
Oh, we do, because Paul's the better.
We had
all three.
All three won yesterday. So we had New Lion won, Marine Nationale won, and also Stumptown that Paddy Aspel gave us yesterday as well won. So our tips for the day are in the Ryanair Chase at Cheltenham, Fact to File at 3:20. Ellie, you're going for the one at the Stayers Hurdle, which is Home by the Lee, correct?
Yes.
Home by the Lee.
I like the sound of that one.
In the 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we had success yesterday, it doesn't mean that it's so please, you know.
Well, I hope you're right, because I've just put £500 on that.
He really hasn't. He really hasn't.
I actually don't know how to place a bet.
Big games tonight in the Europa League. So Manchester United are 1-1 with Real Sociedad. Rangers are 3-1 up against Fenerbahce, which is Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. They won that in Turkey, so they're 3-1 up and they're playing at Ibrox tonight, which is very good.
Excellent.
Spurs will be playing AZ Alkmaar and currently 1-0 down. Could have been worse last week, let's be honest. So Ange Postecoglou was asked yesterday, because this is going to make or break the season. This is like, is it win or bust as far as Spurs are concerned? And Ange, this is what he had to say.
Big Ange.
There aren't many professions in the world where you have to come in and answer questions like that, is there? There isn't there? Yeah, so, but I'm going to be polite and just say, look, we're focused on winning the game tomorrow night and need to put in a better performance than we did last Thursday. Obviously, that wasn't anywhere near the standard we want to play. Did some good things on the weekend, some not so good things, but we certainly feel like if we can play with the intensity and tempo we played, on the weekend, we'll give ourselves a good chance to progress.
He looks like a man who's very tired of the same question every time, which is what I'm going to do with Clive Allen right now, because he gets tired of the same question every time. Former Spurs striker and coach. And our great friend, Clive Allen, joins us. Morning, Clive.
Good morning.
Would you be fed up if you were Ange, when you've been in management positions? Is it the same old thing? Is it over for you? Is it, is it win or bust tonight? How would you respond to it?
It's part and parcel of the job, I think. He understands that. He's experienced enough now. It was a bold statement saying that he always wins something in his second season.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is his second season at Spurs. So I think everybody's sitting, waiting anxiously for Spurs to win something this second season. And Europa League is really the only opportunity now.
Well, this is it, and this is what he said, Ange, and I think probably he was probably led up the garden path a bit, because when he was interviewed and said, you know, it's true, is it true that you win something in your second season? And he said, yeah, absolutely, which has probably been turned around a bit, that he says, I will always win something in the second season. So has he made a rod for his own back, do you think, or has he been led up the garden path, like I think possibly?
Yeah, I think you know what the press are like. They're looking into any angle where
Those
there's a
press
possible
people,
story.
yeah.
And I think that I also read this morning that he said, obviously, if he doesn't win something in his second season, he won't be able to say that anymore. So he's been, quite pragmatic about it. I think it is just a massive game for Spurs tonight. One they have to win, and a very, very tough game as well.
Well, on paper, people would think that maybe it wasn't. AZ Alkmaar, they're like 6th or 7th in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands, and it shouldn't really be too much of a problem. But it was a problem last week, and it could have been worse. And then there's other fans that are saying, look, you know, get back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, everything's going to be fine. It really isn't going to be that easy, is it, Clive? Because they haven't been great.
No. And also, we played them in the league phase, so we must remember that game where they made it very difficult for us. We won on a penalty. They were a man down, and we found it very difficult to break them down. Obviously, we've got to score 2 goals this evening, I feel, without conceding, because if they manage to score a goal, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult task. So a clean sheet and a couple of goals is what's needed.
You got a funny feeling, though, haven't you, about this competition?
Oh, yeah, I always think we're going to win. And Ange always wins something in his second season.
Yeah, that's right. That's nothing to worry about. What about, quick word on Manchester United and Real Sociedad. So there's a team that are also having their worries. OK, they've got a lovely stadium to look forward to. But it's 1-1 and it's at Old Trafford. Do you think they're going to go through, or are they going to struggle, do you think, tonight?
Yeah, I think they will. And I think obviously there is still the possibility that Spurs and Manchester United could meet up. So, yeah, I see Manchester United progressing. I think Rangers will as well. That was a sensational result in Turkey against Fenerbahce. So I see the 3 British teams progressing.
Now, there's one thing I want to mention, and this is also to Ellie and Stephen. Just to the right of Clive, I can see it looks like a trophy, and I'd love to see, is it your PFA Player of the Year trophy that's there, Clive? Just over your left shoulder?
Yeah, just over my left shoulder.
Is it in something, or is it just on a shelf, or...?
No, it just stands on the cabinet there. Yeah.
Can we have a little look?
My prized possession, I have to say.
There we go. That's it. Look at that. There it is. Look at that.
Fantastic.
1987 PFA Player of the Year, Football Writers Player of the Year as well. It is huge. Is it true you had to have the ceiling made bigger to fit the trophy in there, Clive?
No, we just had to make sure the cabinet was small enough.
Yeah, good man.
Brilliant.
Listen, enjoy tonight, and you look forward to mine and Clive's fixtures as well, which you can get on the website as well. Thanks, Clive. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clive. Love the office
it's fantastic.
as well.
Isn't that great? Huge award.
It's stuff like that because obviously they're big awards. You hear about them when they're dished out, but then just to see it sat there.
I know. Are you like that with your awards? Are they all on there? Just keep them all in the background.
I do.
I do love it though when you see certain people on TV and they do a Zoom, and they always place their awards just behind them.
Yeah. Not that Clive did that. It's always there.
No, that was over there to that was off the side. I've got my 25-metre ribbon from swimming from 1978. That's all I've got.
Oh. It's when you get the people they've written a book. And they just have lots of copies of their own book.
Yeah, what, the book not selling? Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
Thanks, Coity.
You are a big marathon runner, Paul.
Oh, yes.
You are, in fact, the youngest ever London marathon runner.
Correct.
I lied. You are a world record breaker.
That's right. I lied. At the age of 17, I ran the London Marathon, 1984. So I lied about my age.
You are a man of history.
Yes.
It's going to be the biggest ever field in the marathon.
Yeah. I think you've probably got the numbers. I've got the numbers in front of me.
56,000.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And the thing is, when it started in 1981, and it began with nowhere near that amount, and it was thought that, well, are we going to be able to do this every year? So every year since 1981, it's got bigger and bigger, and the fact that even now, more people are wanting to do the London Marathon. It's an incredible, a really hard thing to do, but it's an incredible event to be at, let alone run. But I'm really glad that more people are doing it. It's a fantastic event.
Yeah, I love the fact.
One of my favourite sports.
56,000 runners, 840,000 people have applied for the race.
It's
really impossible to get in, isn't it?
It really is difficult. But I still remember the oldest woman in the race beat me by 45 minutes. And I will never forget that, yeah.
Who cares? You were 17.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was the youngest one.
You're a child.
Yeah, I was.
It's to sound woke, but it's the taking part.
I'm sure that's what made my legs bowed. I'm sure that's what it is.
I thought it was horse riding.
I don't know. It was either that or the donkey derby. I'm not sure which one it was, but I'm sure I blame that.
Right, I don't know what to say to that, Paul.
I don't either.
It's been fun, but I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks,
we will see you tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow,
because
yes.
Both in.
We've got the papers coming up next, but first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
We've got some warm weather on the way over the next few days across the eastern Mediterranean, but further west, very unsettled still, with some heavy rain and thunderstorms. The showers most prominent across parts of southern Spain through the course of Friday, an improving story across parts of Portugal, but colder than average temperatures across Iberia. Some heavy rain and some snow across northern parts of Italy and the Balkans, but down across Greece, some fairly warm and sunny weather for the time of year with temperatures above average.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
So the parents in the right, or should they really be taking their kids out during holiday, during end of term break?
Good morning. Yes, it's a real interesting one, but I think there are a few problems with it. There are already 443,000 absences per year. And actually, if they did get their policy and everyone could have this time off, holiday companies aren't here for the fun of it. They're going to just up the prices all year round. And I think that's what this is about. A lot of parents want to grab an absolute bargain. And it's kind of selfish because a holiday is a choice. It's not a necessity. One of the other things they talk about is send children also need to have time off. Now, I am a mum of a child who has a disability, so I understand the complex needs with that, but that's a given. You know, that's something to take up with a local authority. It's a you're allowed to have time off if your child has a medical condition. So, yeah.
It's obviously quite a divisive issue, isn't it? It does separate people into two camps. There's people who want to take their kids out during term time to save a bit of cash, and then there's people who think that children should be in school when they're supposed to be in school. How do you think they'll get on with this campaign? Do you think they'll have any success?
Well, I don't think they will, to be honest with you. I think it's too small. And the other thing is it's quite disruptive on the classroom. If you can imagine, I already play catch up because my son has half a day off a week. So I can imagine if that's going on all year round with all the children, trying to keep track of it, sounds an absolute nightmare to me. I mean, personally, I'd rather just go away on holiday on my own without my child and have some relaxation. So that would be my advice to them. Get the granny in.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Let's go through the papers at 8:45 or 8:46 with Alex Dyke and Scarlett Maguire. Hello, hello. Can we have a look at The Guardian, Scarlett?
Right.
I think it's only fair to give you a shot with The Guardian. A move to boycott the US goods is spreading.
Right. So I think this probably began in Canada, where the Premier of Ontario, which is the most popular state, he is a real rednecked conservative, and they have liquor stores there, so it's all government, right? And he just got rid of all the American liquor. You cannot buy American. And in the supermarkets, there are now apps that tell you what is American, and they're all boycotting it. They're not going on holiday to the States. Some people are even cancelling holidays and losing money. But this has spread to Europe, where a German classical violinist has cancelled his summer tour in America. In Sweden, there is a Facebook with 40,000 members going. So actually, this anti-Americanism that Trump is getting is I mean, and obviously Tesla with Elon Musk is going to hit the Americans quite hard.
Could it be that the German classical violinist isn't selling any tickets? Because it doesn't sound like the hottest gig in town, does it? But for Canada to go anti-America, I just don't get
it. Wouldn't you do it if it was over here? If there was tariffs being put on a load of our stuff by America, there isn't. But if there was on a whole host of stuff, would you still buy American? I don't know if I would.
I would.
No, you'd be patriotic, surely.
Well, I love...
You'd be buying British.
Well, I would buy British, but I would buy American too, because we owe so much to America. They won the Second World War for us, for a start.
Oh, we had to pay them back. I mean, boy...
It took a little while.
They came in eventually,
It took a few years, and actually, I think I can say...
Sorry, I've shocked.
My dad would be so angry with you if he was still alive, and so would many. I mean, they risked their lives, and then the Americans came in and took the glory. But actually...
I know a lot of serving and veterans who would not be happy with you saying that.
Well, but I think it's fact.
He's digging a hole.
Absolutely. But actually, I mean, you say... So the Canadians feel absolutely threatened by the Americans. Yeah. I mean, Trump is saying, you know, we want you to be our 51st state. I mean, what would we do if France or Germany went, well, you're just a little island here. Why don't you join us? And we'd go, I mean, you can imagine the sun, hop off you frogs. I think they might have said it before. Yeah. Because I mean, the Canadian. But what's interesting is it has spread to Europe, and it is about the bullying, actually. And I think one of the things that began it, apart from the tariffs, was watching Trump and Zelensky.
It was very hard.
It was ghastly.
But you know, I have to say, I'm all for being patriotic, whichever country you are from. There's nothing wrong with supporting your own country. But anyway, it's your... What about cigarettes and vapes?
Yes.
This is in the Express, Alex.
So Labour has been accused of delivering the final nail in the coffin for local corner shops with a crackdown on tobacco and vape sales. So basically this is, they're threatening an application cost, an annual charge, staff enforcement schemes. We can't stop teenagers buying booze, so how are we going to stop them buying vapes? I don't know, but it seems to me to be more... Scarlett, look away. Labour red tape.
No, I mean, what we know is cigarettes kill people, right? I mean...
But we... and we let that happen because we want whatever government is in wants the taxes.
They do, but actually we also... I think anybody who can afford to smoke actually earns quite a lot of money. I mean, cigarettes are so expensive. And we know that vaping is very bad. And I think this thing of, but why can't we exist? I mean, why can't corner shops actually live on other things. I know it's tough. I mean, you know, my corner shops say that because they have to put cigarettes behind a barrier that they're not selling them anymore.
I'm anti-smoking. I hate it. I hate smoking. I don't like vaping, and I wish people had never been introduced. We can blame Sir Walter Raleigh for that, can't we? But I wish people had never been introduced to it. But smokers are addicts and they need help.
Yeah, I know, and there are. I don't. Nicoretta, there are probably other things. I mean, they do need help. They do need help, and they need help to buy. I mean, that's one of the reasons that you don't go into shops and see all the cigarette boxes. I mean, of course. I mean, I'm not an anti. I mean, God, I've smoked, and you know, I am a stressed smoker. If things go terribly wrong, the first thing I do is I go for a packet of cigarettes, and it's very, very bad.
We've still
and
got
it is
20%
highly
of
addictive.
people. We've still got 20% of people in Britain smoking, and it's far too many. But we seem to be stuck between a rock and a hard place because all governments want the money from tobacco tax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Though, as Mandy says, alcohol kills more people than smoking, which it probably does. It probably does.
Well, that's probably because more people drink
than they are
smoke.
smoking.
I mean, I think it's great that it's down to 1 in 5, and also most of them are older. But the problem with vaping, of course, is it's for the youngsters.
And kids who never smoked.
Stephen.
The kids who've never smoked have now started vaping.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a whole other story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scarlett, the daffodils are out, aren't they? They look beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
But don't be tempted to pick them.
I know.
If they're wild.
Because it's... I mean, it's quite greedy, isn't it, if you start picking wild daffodils?
Actually, it is, because they're there for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, and this is... I mean, there's nothing new about this. There's a law that dates back to 1981 that says that there are serious fines to pay if you pick wild daffodils. If you're lucky enough to have them in your garden, then that's fine. But I think, and it's not just daffodils, it's bluebells, it's wildflowers. And actually, what I love most is in May, you go to woods and they're just full of bluebells.
I know.
And you don't want to be picking them.
No, and actually, although there will be some people saying, oh, why not, what does it matter? There's been lots of species, actually, that we have picked to death in this country. I mean, how often do you see cowslips now? Cowslips have almost disappeared entirely, and it's...
you could get up
and it's down to people going mad picking them, like 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
We've got to be protected.
I have to say that in Swanage, on the cliffs, which is where all my siblings live, around there, if you go for a walk, you do get cowslips, but they're protected.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really good at trying to protect things, and there are signs saying don't pick anything, but so that you can. So
well, you could
can
get
just
6
enjoy
months
them.
in jail if you get caught.
Yeah, but I think it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely, but it is a
£5,000 fine.
I know, but it is a deterrent. I mean, we think it shouldn't happen. What we're saying here is don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it actually,
because it spoils it for everybody else.
Hedgerows used to be full of beautiful flowers, and they've all disappeared. And some of it's down to picking, some of it's down to pesticides, and all the rest of it.
But I love all the wildflowers.
Lovely.
Joy for everyone. And you two have been a joy this morning, Scarlett and Alex. Thank you very much. Lots of compliments about your jacket, Alex.
Oh, really?
Lots of talk about your jumper, Scarlett, as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Let's get a check on the weather now, shall we, with Tom Morgan.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So it's staying chilly through the next few days, an icy start in places this morning. There will be a mixture of sunshine and showers, and as I say, temperatures still below average for the time of year. The ice most prominent across parts of northeastern parts of England through this morning. A mixture of sunshine and showers, though. Those showers most prevalent across more eastern and central parts of the UK through the course of today. Still a wintry flavour to them, some snow up over the higher ground. Further west, though, mostly dry skies with a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures, once again, are slightly below average for the time of year and feeling particularly cold where that wind is quite blustery. Through this evening and overnight, the showers continue to feed down some eastern areas of the UK, so some fairly heavy showers still perhaps possible through this evening's rush hour across southeastern parts of England, the Midlands. Further west, southwest England and Wales seeing the best of the dry weather with some clearer breaks. Northern Ireland probably escaping most of the showers through the course of today, but one or two around perhaps through this evening. Further north across Scotland, we will see a focus for the showers to perhaps organise themselves into longer spells of rain and hill snow as we go through this evening. And as we go through tonight, we'll start to see more in the way of frequent showers coming back in across northern parts of Scotland. That's courtesy of a more defined area of showery rain and hill snow pushing southwards through the course of tonight. Elsewhere, further south across England and Wales, a mixture of clear spells and patchy cloud. We will see a fairly widespread frost developing once again, particularly in the countryside, lows of -2 or -3 degrees. So tomorrow is going to be another fairly cold day, still quite breezy, particularly for some eastern coasts of the UK. An area of showery rain clearing away from Northern Ireland through the morning, hill snow starting to ease away as well. So once again, the focus for the showers will be across eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of England. Once again, some heavy bursts of rain perhaps possible, and still on the chilly side for the time of year.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK for a Thursday morning. Currently at the minute on the M25 clockwise in Hertfordshire, 2 lanes are blocked. It's due to debris on the road. Junction 18 for Chorleywood, queues are back to junction 17 at Maple Cross. In Bridgend, the eastbound M4 queuing due to an accident now on the hard shoulder, junction 35 to junction 34 at the moment. And in Warwickshire, the southbound M40 is partially blocked due to an accident at junction 16 for Henley and Arden. In Staffordshire, the southbound M6 long delays and 2 lanes closed due to an accident, junction 14 Stafford North to junction 13 for Stafford South. That's causing some big queues on surrounding routes. And at the moment as well in Cheshire, the northbound M6 long delays due to an earlier accident. That's junction 18 for Middlewich and Holmes Chapel to junction 19 at Knutsford. Queues are back to junction 17 at Sandbach there this morning on the northbound M6. Europe Today.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
We want to spruce up your spring with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash that you can spend however you like. But that's not all, as you'll also receive not 1, but 2 brand new designer watches and a fabulous Mulberry handbag. For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Trump's push to Putin, either back peace or Russia is finished.
I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia.
Cracks in the Kremlin's power play as the White House piles on the pressure to stop the fighting in Ukraine.
But as a classified document claims to reveal Russia's secret plans for Ukraine, we're asking who really holds the cards.
Yes, after weeks of putting the pressure on Ukraine, Trump now doing the same to Russia. But are they going to play ball?
No change to the definition of terrorism. That's the terror watchdog's recommendation after a review of the Southport murders.
Well, this report doesn't go anywhere near answering the questions that the wider community have about what they were or weren't told about Axel Ridicabana, the Southport killer, and his links to terrorism.
Bloat in Britain. The Prime Minister will admit that the public sector is overcautious and flabby in a milestone speech today. Here's the rather diplomatic response from Shadow Treasury Minister Gareth Davis.
They're actually increasing the size of the state, not decreasing it. But look, the sentiment is right and we wish them well.
Now we're going to head to Bournemouth and Southport to visit some of the nation's most famous piers. It turns out they need a bit of love.
Yes, I'm in Bournemouth today talking to local businesses and local people to find out how economic pressures are leaving them on the brink.
Back in December of 2022, Southport's pier was closed due to the need for essential maintenance work. But now, 27 months on, there are still no signs of it reopening. Just how vital is it to the future of this town? We'll be here all day finding out the answer to that question.
It's a cold and an icy start out there this morning for some of us. We have got a mixture of sunshine and showers once again today. But find out all the further details you need in the full forecast coming up.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
There's lots going on. In terms of the world of politics, I mean, there's a lot going on in international politics. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and Ukraine and particularly Russia and the pressure he's putting on. But there's a lot going on in the government this morning, and this whole idea of a bloated civil service. I mean, the civil service gets a lot of stick, but apparently it's unfocused and flabby, according to the Prime Minister.
Well, we're joined now by Science Secretary Peter Carl, MP. Good to see you this morning, Mr. Carl. How is this going to be fixed?
Good morning. Well, we need to transition government into the digital age. The way that people interact with banking, commerce and travel services via smartphones and other ways simply isn't the case with government and public services. So we want to make sure we get government fit for the digital age, and that is underway now. We've discovered that almost half of all transactions undertaken by government are analogue. That means 45,000 envelopes opened at DVLA. It means 100,000 phone calls being answered by HMRC. And someone in my office in government, a civil servant who fantastically got pregnant recently and had a baby, her maternity card was sent through the post. She had to fill it out by hand. She had to go through with all the checkups, having it filled in manually, and she was told that if she didn't have that card with her when she went into labour and went into hospital to give birth, then they wouldn't have access to her medical records. This is no way to do government. It is no way to do government into the 2020s going forward, and we are going to fix that by delivering a more efficient and effective civil service and systems in government, and a much better service to people up and down our country.
Right, but how do you bring that about? Because, I mean, digitising a system that way, squeezing the fat out of the civil service, it's not a quick fix, is it?
It's not, but we're working fast. So when I came into office just 7 months ago, I asked how quickly it would take to get a digital driving licence into people's hands, in their smartphones. I was told that it would take more than 5 years and couldn't be done in one parliament. Well, I'm pleased to say that in June this year, we will deliver a gov.uk app, so anyone with a smartphone can access a range of government services. You can use AI in the app to talk and communicate with government, having access access to 700,000 pages of information in a human chat facility, and then shortly afterwards you'll get the digital wallet, and then by the end of this year you'll have a digital driving license with all of the age verification functions attached to it. So we will deliver that app within 11 months. So I hope that shows people, because none of that work was started when we came into office. I started that work in my department, and that shows what we are capable of as a government and as a civil service when you have clear objectives, strident leadership, and you are determined to deliver the change people need.
With budgets tight, and obviously you're trying to create growth as a government, you're going to want to cut back on quangos, aren't you? Criticised for being inefficient and costly. But you've set up 27 since you took to power, including the tree planting task force, the motor insurance task force, and the independent football regulator, to name but a few. And out of these 27, you've only vowed to scrap one. So are you doing enough to cut red tape to promote growth?
Well, we're not doing enough to cut red tape now, but we will into the future. We're 7 months into this government. We are starting that process of rationalising and understanding. Okay, the thing you have to understand is that we don't even know how much red tape costs our economy. So we are pledging to lower the burden by 25%. The starting point is figuring out exactly how much it is. That's the kind of state we've got into. Now, in my department, when I did set up a new digital centre of government, that involved consolidating different parts of digital services across government. I actually reduced the overall number of units that were delivering these services. So it is possible to move forward in a way that enhances services but cuts down on the different functions of government. And this is increasingly what we're learning and putting into action as we go forward.
Talking about a growing economy, and you know, this all sounds like it's heading in the right direction, right? I mean, the spin on this is very good, but we're now told 5 million people are in the higher tax bracket of 40%, which is a record. And what we know from that is, yes, some people will be earning more money. Some people are being dragged into it because these tax brackets have been frozen for the next few years. Now, well, that's going to damage the economy, isn't it? That's going to mean that actually people are feeling like there's less money in their pocket to spend.
Well, we heard just this week that business confidence is increasing in our economy, in the management of our economy. We heard also this week that tech companies, those high growth companies, the larger ones who are capable of investing large amounts of money, have an 86% satisfaction rating, an optimistic rating in our country and the handling of our policy. So you can see that we are investing, and we are trying to get the industries which are investing in our future to get going, get cracking and feeling good about investing in Britain. Only then, when we get economic growth, can we start tackling the high tax inheritance that we've had from the previous government. So we know that we have low growth, and as a result we have high tax. That is not satisfactory. That's why we're trying to fix the foundations, yet invest into the future. Those 1.5 million homes that we're building is right for the right reasons, because we need more housing as a country. But also, if you saw where the growth is coming from in the economy at the moment, construction plays a fundamental part to it. So you can see that we're matching the investment into the future from where the growth is coming from currently. That means taking steps forward, building on the strong foundations that we have already created, and then delivering for working people up and down the country. That is what we are striving to do.
Can I ask you about President Trump's tariffs? 25% tariffs on all imports of steel and aluminium took hold this week, didn't they? Yesterday, the Prime Minister refused to rule out these tit-for-tat tariffs. Is that still on the table?
We're really disappointed by those tariffs, but we're taking a pragmatic approach to this. We're also, don't forget, simultaneously involved in discussions about an economic cooperation going forward with the United States. We're focusing on that process to deliver not just for Britain but for America too. There are key areas of the economy, high growth areas such as AI and technology, space, critical technologies like quantum and fusion. These are things that America is leading at, but Britain has incredible local talent as well. When we work together as two nations, we can create the jobs and wealth that come from it. We can also stay ahead in the race, because we need to get ahead and stay ahead in the race in these technologies, because we do not want other countries, certain countries around the world, to get there first, because it could do us harm. But it's also crucial for our national security. So we're looking at these areas where we have a joint need, a joint opportunity to work together, and that's what the Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been working on with Donald Trump, and I think our teams are working really hard to try and deliver that.
OK, Minister, I know you're out of time, but good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. I wonder if there is more
very much.
Up the sleeve of it all. Catherine Forster, our political correspondent, is here. I mean, does the government have something up its sleeve? Because everybody else has immediately, including the EU, immediately launched retaliatory tariffs. Britain hasn't. And I wonder if that's because these negotiations are ongoing and they think we can get a carve-out sooner rather than later.
Well, I think they would like to believe the messaging that we had 3 weeks ago in the Oval Office between Trump and the PM, where, you know, we heard about our very special relationship, and the hope is that we can get different treatment because, first of all, we don't have a trade deficit. It's pretty much in balance. And also because Trump has a big soft spot for the United Kingdom and the royal family in particular. So the government is hoping that we can ultimately get a free trade deal, I think, and in the shorter term, that we can get a carve-out, because we know, don't we, that Donald Trump puts tariffs on 1 minute, takes them off the next, puts them back on, takes them, you know, so we don't know that this is going to last. But it is risky, of course, because the British steel industry is already on its knees. So if we don't get an exemption, this is very, very serious for us.
OK.
Just briefly, talking of things economic and Trump, he's threatening these to ruin Russia if they don't start talking peace. Does he actually have the power to do that, do you think?
Well, listen, the Russian economy is not strong in the first place. Trump talks about Russia like it's this huge superpower that it used to be. Its economy is only about the size of Italy. What it has is a massive military, and it's making money off war. But certainly it can hurt Russia. But I think it's very interesting that we've had several weeks of Trump talking very tough to Ukraine, threatening Ukraine, making all sorts of comments that suggest he's not allied with them. But finally, he's now talking tough to and about Russia, making all sorts of threats, you know, saying things could get very bad for Russia. Russia could be finished. Trying, of course, to get them to agree to this ceasefire proposal that the Ukraine and US have agreed. We haven't heard from Russia in the day and a bit since that was agreed. I think it's worrying that Putin has been out in his military fatigues in the Kursk region where Ukraine had invaded, and all the noises that Western intelligence is hearing suggest that Russia, at the moment at least, is planning to fight on. And some of the conditions that we understand that Russia has already given to the US about ending the war, not a ceasefire, but actually ending the war, include Ukraine never joining NATO, and also retreat of NATO military operations in Eastern Europe. I can't see that happening.
No. Catherine, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much. Now, the terror watchdog has published its investigation into the Southport murders. It recommends the government creates a new offence for preparing for mass killings, but stops short of proposing a change to the terror definition.
Well, the Home Office has said it will fix legislation to close gaps that have been identified.
Well, we're joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Good to see you this morning. Mark, what's your assessment of these recommendations?
Well, it doesn't go anywhere to answering the main concerns that people had, and that was a belief that they were not being told the whole truth about Axel Ridicabana after the Southport murders. And that is absolutely the case. The Prime Minister admitted himself just recently in a news conference and subsequently in the Commons that he had information that Axel Ridicabana had documents relating to the terror group Al-Qaeda, that he had ricin, the deadly toxin that he was manufacturing in his bedroom in the house as well. But he had taken the decision not to make that public. Now, he claimed he did that for very good reasons, and that was because he didn't want to, prejudice a trial in any way, commit a contempt of court. But actually, anybody that knows anything about the way in which these criminal cases operate know that that is an absolute nonsense, because you cannot prejudice a trial by putting before the public the very charges that someone is going to be facing in the court at the end of the day. That's like saying, we can't tell you that Axel Rudikabana has just been charged with 3 murders in case that prejudices his case. So why couldn't they tell us at the time that he was going to be charged with possessing of a deadly toxin and also possession of Al-Qaeda documents? And in fact, just 2 months before the trial, they did tell us and presented new charges. Why weren't the public told at the time? The public weren't told at the time, and of course, then there was misinformation out there as well that just fueled the anger in a sense that they weren't being told the truth. We saw those horrible riots, and I'm afraid this report today, although it does talk about, tightening loopholes to ensure that you can charge someone with an offence of preparing mass murder, it doesn't go any way to, I think, answering those real important questions that the people have about the fundamental mistrust that they now have of authorities.
OK. Mark, thanks very much indeed. Right, still to come for you. It's a change of tactics quite a lot, but it's an interesting one. It's all about Britain's peers. They've been neglected. Well, we knew that, didn't we? So we're around the country finding out more and just how important they are to local communities in just a moment.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tom Pickup, host of the Really 007 podcast. Hello, Tom. Thank you very much for joining. I've just been singing Live and Let Die to myself for some random reason. So what's going on here, then? Is Bond going to be changed forever? I mean, Barbara Broccoli was pretty hands-on and tough with what happened to that.
Yeah, you've got to think that this goes back to 1962 when it all started with Sean Connery and Dr. No. Her father, Cubby Broccoli, got the film rights and began the franchise and the movie character we all know as James Bond. So it's a big change. It was always going to come to an end eventually. Barbara took over pretty much when her father died, before GoldenEye, when Pierce Brosnan was the new Bond. But she's really had all the control with her half-brother, Michael G. Wilson, who's the other producer on Eon, since then, since 95, really. And they didn't cast Pierce Brosnan themselves. That was Cubby's casting. Their real casting was Daniel Craig. And I think now that that chapter has come to an end, and whether you liked it or not, it had a very definite ending, maybe that's been part of the reason where they think they'd rather spend their time in retirement doing something else. It's time to pass it on. And they've got a ready-made partner already in Amazon.
Is it going to get a little bit woke, though, Tom?
I've no idea, but all I know is that Jeff Bezos obviously is head of Amazon. He's already put a tweet up or on X saying, "Who do you want as the new James Bond?"
Oh, okay.
So he's already including the fans, which I suppose is a good thing. Whether or not we'll have a say, we don't know. But I think what it'll be is what people want, what people on the outside see as James Bond, not necessarily super fans like me.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
19 minutes past 9, and we want to make your spring spectacular, make no doubt about it. £17,777 in cold, hard, tax-free cash.
But that's not all. No, no, no. You will also win not one but two sought-after designer watches and a designer bag as well. So
Just
do you
one?
want... Just the one, I'm afraid, yes. But you can buy lots more with the 17 grand. So if you want to look and feel the part this spring, here are all the details that you need.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound?
Oh my God, that's brilliant news.
For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, we love a British pier.
Yeah.
It's part of what makes Britain, Britain.
I love Southend Pier. That would be my local. And yours would be?
Blackpool.
Well, here at GB News, we're determined not to let our iconic piers become a thing of the past. And that's why we're on a bit of a mission this morning, aren't we? To bring a bit of love to the great British seaside.
So let's head to Bournemouth and Adam Cherry and Southport and Sophie Reaper. Morning to you both. Adam, let's start with you. We all love a pier, but is it needing a bit of love down there?
Morning, guys. Yeah, the Saturday Morning Live crew are on tour, and I'm in Bournemouth Pier behind me. It opens at 10 o'clock, and later today, hopefully, we're going to be speaking to Rory Holborn, who is the owner of this pier, and he's been saying that the business is really struggling, particularly in the last 5 years or so since the pandemic, rising energy costs, and the budget. It's very expensive to run a place like this, and the tourism revenues aren't what they used to be. As you say, the love for this place, it isn't quite what it used to be. So I'm going to chat to him about what it's like to maintain a business like this and other local businesses which are just opening up as I'm talking, and find out what it's really like here. But it should be an interesting day. And like you said, we're trying to save the British pier because it's really important to seaside towns and to Britain.
It is.
Sophie Reaper, how's it looking in Southport this morning?
Well, good morning to you both. Ellie, I believe you said your local pier is Southend, which is actually the longest pier in the UK. But you're looking here behind me at the second longest pier in the UK. Southport Pier has been here since the 1800s. But if you wanted to come and face the wind here in Southport and go for a lovely stroll, perhaps enjoy an ice cream or the penny arcades down at the end there, then unfortunately you wouldn't be able to, because this pier has been closed since December of 2022. So 27 months ago it was locked up, and that is because of essential maintenance work that needed to be carried out. Now, Sefton Council has applied for a grant of £10 million from the National Lottery Heritage Fund, but that grant has been denied. The National Lottery Heritage Fund telling us an expression of interest was submitted to us by Sefton Council. This is a pre-application process which enables us to advise on whether a project is suitable and likely to be a strong candidate for National Lottery funding before a full application is made. The project outline submitted was not something the National Lottery Heritage Fund would be likely to support in its current form. Now, Sefton Council has described this denial of its application as a hammer blow to the town. So we're going to be here all day finding out just how vital this pier is to this gorgeous seaside town.
All right, you two, thank you very much indeed. They're vital parts of our heritage, history and culture.
That they are. Now, Britain's Newsroom is coming up at 9:30. Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner are here to tell us all about it. Morning, you two.
Morning. We're a vital part of the nation's culture and heritage.
I don't know how to respond to that, Andrew. I'm lost for words.
Well, that's a pleasure for the viewers then.
Blackpool would have been my pier as well.
Yeah.
Just saying. Some lovely times in my life in Blackpool.
I'm going to tell a story later about what I got up to once on Ramsgate Pier, but we're talking
wow.
about... I was a schoolboy. Don't you worry. We're talking about if you're convicted of a sex offence, should you be able to carry on as a counsellor?
Two stories not connected. That's about Wes Streeting's former aide who...
Yeah, I mean, clearly not.
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Clinging on to his job, so we're talking about that. It's outrageous. You should just lose your job automatically, shouldn't you?
You really should. And Snow White, this new premiere of the new action Snow White. So obviously the original from the 1930s was a cartoon, and this one is the
And she's Snow White
woke.
because apparently she was caught in a snowstorm. Nothing to do with her skin colour. Woke nonsense.
And no jobs for dwarfs.
No, magical creatures.
All CGI.
Yeah. All right, you two.
That's coming up next. We're back at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So it's staying chilly through the next few days, an icy start in places this morning. There will be a mixture of sunshine and showers, and as I say, temperatures still below average for the time of year. The ice most prominent across parts of northeastern parts of England through this morning. A mixture of sunshine and showers, though. Those showers most prevalent across more eastern and central parts of the UK through the course of today. Still a wintry flavour to them, some snow up over the higher ground. Further west, though, mostly dry skies with a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures, once again, are slightly below average for the time of year and feeling particularly cold where that wind is quite blustery. Through this evening and overnight, the showers continue to feed down some eastern areas of the UK, so some fairly heavy showers still perhaps possible through this evening's rush hour across southeastern parts of England, the Midlands. Further west, southwest England and Wales, seeing the best of the dry weather with some clearer breaks. Northern Ireland probably escaping most of the showers through the course of today, but one or two around perhaps through this evening. Further north across Scotland, we will see a focus for the showers to perhaps organise themselves into longer spells of rain and hill snow as we go through this evening. And as we go through tonight, we'll start to see more in the way of frequent showers coming back in across northern parts of Scotland. That's courtesy of a more defined area of showery rain and hill snow pushing southwards through the course of tonight. Elsewhere, further south across England and Wales, a mixture of clear spells and patchy cloud. We will see a fairly widespread frost developing once again, particularly in the countryside, lows of -2 or -3 degrees. So tomorrow is going to be another fairly cold day, still quite breezy, particularly for some eastern coasts of the UK. An area of showery rain clearing away from Northern Ireland through the morning, hill snow starting to ease away as well. So once again, the focus for the showers will be across eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of England once again. Some heavy bursts of rain perhaps possible, and still on the chilly side for the time of year.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good morning. I'm Andy Hilbert with the latest on the roads across the UK this Thursday morning. In South Yorkshire, the M1 northbound, there's a lane closure on the exit slip road due to an accident at junction 36 for Barnsley South and Hoyland. In South Yorkshire, the M1 south, a lane closed due to emergency repairs, junction 31 for Sheffield and Worksop to junction 30 for Worksop and Sheffield South. And in Warwickshire, the M40 south, partially blocked at the minute due to an accident, junction 16 for Henley and Arden. In Staffordshire, the southbound M6, long delays and 2 lanes closed due to an accident, junction 14 Stafford North to junction 13 for Stafford South. And in Staffordshire on the southbound M6, 3 lanes are closed due to a broken down lorry just before junction 14 for Stafford North. Currently in Warwickshire, the southbound M69 partially blocked due to an accident at the M6 at junction 2 for Coventry as well this morning. That's going to affect you. That's the latest. You're up to date.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now I'm furious with our director this morning because I said this is not breaking news, and so he's gone all out.
He's gone all
breaking
out.
News everywhere. Because guess what, ladies and gents? The lineup for Glastonbury 2025 has been released.
It's great.
Who cares?
It's
frankly?
great.
Who cares?
I really like it.
I couldn't give a monkeys.
Right, I'll tell you.
An Arctic monkeys.
Well, they're not playing, are they?
I've no idea.
I don't think they are. But US pop star Olivia Rodrigo.
Who?
She's very good. British band, the 1975.
Who?
Are going to headline.
And Neil Young, who many of us will remember from decades and decades.
Is he there?
Who is 80 and he's playing.
Right.
And
good for him.
Well, yeah, but that's something, because apparently Charlie XCX is playing. Who?
Well, she just won 5 Brit Awards.
She did win the Brits,
yes.
absolutely.
Well, I don't care about that either.
Stephen, she is a real amazing person.
This is a very brat boy summer.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
And a brat boy summer.
This is growing out my pocket.
It looks like a bouquet.
Alanis Morissette, who I've heard of, Fatboy Slim and the Scissor Sisters.
And Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart, yeah.
And the Prodigy.
Even you will have heard of Rod Stewart.
I'm not.
The Prodigy you would have heard of.
The Prodigy you would have heard of.
Fatboy Slim, Snow Patrol.
Snow Patrol.
Snow Patrol.
That was a cartoon.
They do, no, Snow Patrol do the song for Grey's Anatomy. It's brilliant.
I've never seen
The
it.
Libertines.
Anyway,
Maccabees. I think it's a great lineup.
Alex Armstrong and Scarlett Maguire are here for this latest on the breaking news this morning. You couldn't give 2 hoots, could you, Scarlett?
I will not be going to Glastonbury, but my son probably will be for the sort of 15th time in a row.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, 9:30 on Thursday, the 13th of March, live across the UK, Britain's newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So there's been a terror review, but there's going to be no change to the definition of terrorism after the Southport murders, but creating a new offence has been recommended.
Well, this review also goes nowhere near answering the questions that many people have about what they were or weren't told about Axel Rudikabana in the months before the trial.
Civil service overhaul. Sir Keir Starmer is going to set out his plan to reform what he calls the flabby and overcautious state. Is he taking a leaf out of Donald Trump's book?
Well, proposals by a Labour think tank were Project Chainsaw. So more than a few echoes, I think we'll be hearing from the Prime Minister today of what's going on across in America.
And a disgraced councillor scandal. Sam Gould, a senior aide to Wes Streeting, pled guilty to 2 counts of indecent exposure, one of which was to a 13-year-old girl. But he is still clinging on to his council job.
No joke. Sorry about this. It's Snow Woke. Disney has scaled back the Hollywood premiere of its Snow White remake this week, and we're going to tell you about some of the outrageous plot changes.
And are you chunky and in love? New research shows that married men pile on the pounds after settling down. Why does this happen? Have you put on the happy half stone since tying the knot?
Brexit bust up, or is it handbags at dawn? Take a listen to what happened when Lee Anderson, the Reform MP, and the passionate Remainer, Steve Bray, clashed in Westminster.
That's assault! No.
If you were listening on the radio at that moment, that was Lee Anderson. He wasn't in the House, just to be clear.
No.
He wasn't in Parliament. Steve Bray is the guy that stands outside and makes a lot of noise. Anyway, they did actually push each other around there. It was a bit fisticuffs, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, hardly assault, though.
It wasn't assault, but... right, let us know your thoughts this morning. gbnews.com/your say. First, the very latest news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you. The top stories. The Prime Minister will make a milestone pledge today to tackle what he's called our flabby state. Sir Keir Starmer will outline plans to transform the public sectors, including the civil service, which he says is overstretched and unfocused. He'll promise to slash the cost of red tape as he sets out his plan to reshape the state to cope with an era of instability, and will vow to cut the cost of regulation for businesses by 25%. Elsewhere, the terror watchdog has published its investigation into the Southport murders by Axel Rudikabana. It recommends the government creates new offences for the preparation of mass killings, but stops short of proposing a change to the terror definition. While current terrorism law requires a specific ideology, the Prime Minister said he would change it, if needed, to include perpetrators who commit violence for the sake of violence. However, Jonathan Hall KC said the legal definition is already wide and expanding the threshold would increase the possibility of inaccurate use and, in theory, abuse. Mr Hall has also said today police could not arrest the Southport killer before he carried out his attack because of a gap in the law. And Donald Trump has threatened the Russian president to accept a 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine this week or prepare for economic ruin. That is as the Kremlin refuses to consider any potential deal before speaking to the US envoy directly in Moscow.
Financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace.
This all comes as a classified document obtained by the Washington Post allegedly exposes Putin's plans to divide the Western alliance in order to weaken the US president's negotiating position. Mr Trump confirmed White House officials travelled to Russia overnight with hopes Russia will agree to a ceasefire deal. Meanwhile, President Putin was spotted making rounds on the front line of the Kursk region for the first time since Ukrainian troops captured part of it last year. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More news from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev. Now then, Snow White, we're going to talk about.
Was it one of your favourites when you were growing up?
Yes, I suppose I did like it. It obviously hasn't aged terribly well in some areas. The fact that Snow White is unconscious and a man comes along and kisses her awake has sort of a different perspective. I saw a clip of that with my daughters one day and they were